Chapter 3150. Yi Qian did not notice Xia Jinyuan immediately. After calming down a little, she got off the stage and continued to be stared at by the students. She felt a little embarrassed. In addition, she was walking behind Su Wen, so she was afraid that Su Wen, who was walking in front of her with a pipa, would fall. Most of her attention was on Su Wen, so she did not pay attention to her surroundings. The gazes of the cadets were filled with a strange, intense light. Although they were military academy cadets, they were still youths in their 20s. Although they were restrained in their actions, there would still be ripples in the depths of their hearts. It was normal for youths to have some thoughts when they saw an outstanding and beautiful girl. Faced with these gazes, Yi Qian, as a girl, felt a little embarrassed. The venue was dimly lit. Only the floor lamps on both sides of the stairs were dimly lit and could only illuminate a little. Yi Qian and Su Wen walked through 2 large areas and finally returned to the area where their classes were. Su Wen's seat was near the side, so she sat down first. Yi Qian's seat was a few rows behind, so she had to continue walking. The students in the class were a little bolder. When they saw her walking over, they would call out Yi Jian in a low voice. When Yi Jian looked over, they would give her a thumbs up, and the smile on their faces was a little wider. When they reached their own class, Yi Qian relaxed. When a student greeted her, she would nod subtly. After walking 4 rows, she suddenly stopped in her tracks. She was originally looking down at her feet, but she suddenly raised her head and looked in front of her. An incomparably scorching gaze fell on her body. It was so familiar that a name in her heart almost rushed out of her throat and materialized into a voice that came out of her mouth. It was too familiar. Even though it was dark all around her, she looked through the darkness to find the source of that burning gaze. When she looked up, her dark eyes lit up. It was as if a fire had lit up the dark and lonely world, igniting all hope. She stood there for a long time without taking a step forward. When the students next to her saw this, they thought something was wrong and couldn't help but whisper, "Yi Qian? What's wrong?" Fortunately, the venue was dark, so no one could tell that Yi Qian had lost his composure. A student's whisper woke Yi Qian up. He quickly said, "It's nothing. I just forgot where I was sitting." "Are you still excited?" "We're still excited." In the back row, next to Song Zhiqiu's seat. How could Yi Qian not know where he was? He was just looking for an excuse to cover up his loss of composure. He thanked the students softly, then walked towards the back. The students performing on stage did a few wonderful backflips. Amidst the applause, Yi Qian saw the man sitting behind her waving at her, indicating for her to come over quickly. At this moment, a real smile appeared on Yi Qian's face. It was a real relaxed smile. All of a sudden, the lines on his face became extraordinarily soft. His smile was like a blooming summer flower, bright and charming. She saw him. She saw the lover she missed day and night. She saw her lover sitting in the seat that originally belonged to the instructor. Even though his face was obscured by the darkness, his gaze was so warm and gentle. Even though she couldn't see her lover's face clearly, she knew it was him just by sitting there. Captain Xia. The great surprise turned into a soft murmur in the end. All of her longing and hesitation were contained in this murmur. It was so soft that the students next to her didn't hear it. Her Captain Xia was back. Her lover was back. Now he was sitting next to her, safe and sound. Chapter 3151. In an instant, the emptiness in her heart was finally filled. There was no more fear, worry, or hesitation. She was filled with joy and satisfaction. Her entire being was radiant, shattering all the haze in her heart. She was caught off guard and tears began to stream down her cheeks. Xia Jinyuan knew that she had seen him. His elegant and dark eyes contained a gentle light as he quietly gazed at her. He waited patiently for her to walk over and sit down beside him. Yi Qian's seat had already been taken by another student, and there was an empty seat beside Xia Jinyuan. He found a good excuse to tell the student sitting beside Yi Qian that he was Yi Qian's older brother. As for who he was referring to as older brother, he didn't explain much. The student who secretly swapped seats thought that he was Yi Qian's biological older brother, so he secretly swapped seats while the crowd applauded. Yi Qian saw that there was another student sitting in his seat and understood what was going on. The corners of his mouth curled into a happy yet shy smile. He briskly walked over to Xia Jinyuan's side and sat down. As soon as he sat down, the man beside him reached out and accurately grabbed Yi Qian's hand. First, he held it gently, then he slowly tightened his grip until his fingers were intertwined tightly. Filled with joy, Yi Qian also held his lover's large hand tightly, as if he was afraid that he would get lost. He didn't want to let go for even a second. The two of them didn't speak. They just held hands tightly. Even if they didn't say a word, they would be satisfied. With tears in his eyes, Yi Qian held onto his hand even more tightly than Xia Jinyuan. The corners of his lips never fell. The moment he held onto his hand, the emptiness in his heart was finally completely satisfied. Great, this was really great. Her lover had finally returned safe and sound. Xia Jinyuan heard her soft gasps and knew that his girl was secretly crying. Taking advantage of the darkness, he pulled her hand to his chest and pressed it hard against his chest. He let the back of her hand feel his heartbeat, telling her that he had returned alive. Bang! 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 His heart was beating vigorously, full of vitality. Yi Qian bit his lower lip, suppressing the tears in his eyes. Don't cry, how can I cry? She should be happy, she should be happy. How could she cry? She pressed her palm against his chest and felt his strong heartbeat. Everything was fine. Don't cry, don't cry. She should be smiling. Xia Jinyuan turned his head sideways and saw his lover sitting beside him with her palm pressed against his heart. He maintained a gentle smile on his handsome face and slowly put her hand down. Then, he interlaced his fingers and held her hand tightly again. He did not say anything, but Yi Qian knew what his actions meant. He was telling her that he was back, safe and sound. Yes, he had returned. In that case, their comrades must have returned safely. As the heavy stone in her heart was removed, Yi Jian finally suppressed the soreness in her eyes. Gradually, a smile appeared in her eyes. As she smiled more and more, her eyes became bright and clear. She turned her head and stared at the man beside her with bright eyes. Looking at his perfect side profile, even if he didn't say anything, she was still very excited. She was so excited that she didn't know what to say. Her hand was held by him, and it felt as if he was holding her heart softly. This feeling was better than any words. Chapter 31:52. The students on stage won applause from the students below the stage. Amidst the applause, Xia Jinyuan said, "I'll be staying at your school tonight." So? Yi Qian, whose tears had yet to dry, turned to look at him with a smile. So, come to my room after the performance. Yi Qian raised his eyebrows. Why can you stay at the school? I can stay at the hospital. After all, I used to be a member of the school and was a few years older than you. Don't you welcome me back to school? Xia Jinyuan did not ask why she was crying. He acted as if he did not notice and picked the easiest topic to talk about. Yes, Captain Xia was also a graduate of the school and graduated as an outstanding student. When he graduated, his military rank was higher than many of the students in the same batch. She almost forgot about it. Of course you're welcome. Back then, Captain Xia was a popular figure in the school. I even saw Captain Xia's style in a treasured photo album in the dean's office. Not long after entering the school, as a freshman representative and a flag bearer, she was fortunate enough to see the style of the flag bearers in the dean's office. Captain Xia was one of them. At that time, Captain Xia was still young and immature. He did not have the strong military aura that he had now, but his gaze was as sharp as a sword and was full of determination. She was deeply attracted to him. There was also a photo taken when he was on duty. He stood motionless with a steel gun in his hand. His cold and hard eyes had a stubbornness that made her heart beat faster. He had a confidence that fascinated her and was firmly staring ahead. He was really handsome. Xia Jinyuan had forgotten that he had such a photo. There were very few photos he had left for his alma mater. Later, because of professional reasons, the few photos that he had left behind were cleaned up by the military. Logically speaking, there should not be any that had escaped the net. How could Little Fox have seen his photo? Where did she see it? Xia Jinyuan wanted to ask where she saw it, but when he turned his head, he saw the smile on her face. It was obvious that she was infatuated. He immediately changed his words and said, "It seems like I should secretly take the photo out and put it in your textbook. Once I had such an idea. I was afraid that the General Affairs Director would not agree, so I did not dare to say it." Yi Qian did not know that her expression had betrayed her. She followed his words and said, "But later, I regretted it. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to see it. What a pity." There was no need to ask where she saw his photo. General Affairs Director. The photo she saw must have been of him when he was the flag bearer. This photo was not taken because it would not be leaked and the students would not have the chance to see it. He did not expect her to see it. "Do you want it?" he asked in a low voice, as if daring her to speak her mind. Yi Jian pursed her lips and thought for a while. In the end, her possessiveness overcame her shyness. She nodded gently and said, "Yes, there are two." The shyness of the girl beside him made Xia Jinyuan's heart burn. Even the hand holding her became hot. He said softly, "Do you want a photo of me so badly?" "Yes." Yi Qian nodded. She did want it. Since Captain Xia asked, he must have a way to get it back. Chapter 3153. "Okay, I'll give it to you tomorrow, but let's chat tonight first." After beating around the bush, Xia Jinyuan naturally brought the topic back. The atmosphere was no longer as sad as when they first met. Instead, it was much lighter. He said, "Han Zheng and the rest are here too. Also, let me introduce you to a few other comrades. Their real names." Other than Z7 and Han Zheng, Yi Qian didn't know what their real names were. Their real names were not as important as their code names. The team had strict rules to prevent them from revealing their comrades' real names out of habit. Even in the team, they had to address each other by code names. After a long time, they didn't really remember their comrades' real names. Little Fox had fought side by side with them for many years. It was time for her to know their real names. When Yi Qian heard that Han Zheng and the rest were here, his eyes lit up. He nodded without hesitation. "Then I'll come and find you after the roll call." She misunderstood just now. She thought she was the only one chatting with Captain Xia tonight. So there were other comrades. Even if she had to take leave, she had to chat with them. Hearing this, Xia Jinyuan pretended to be jealous and said sourly, "If they didn't come, were you not going to chat with me tonight? What a heartless little guy. I came all the way here to see you." Yi Qian wasn't as gullible as before. He smiled and nodded. A man and a woman alone in a room at night. There will be bad rumors. Plus, we're in school, so of course I have to be careful. Can you take us to school for a walk after the gala? It's my first time going back to my alma mater in winter since graduation. We've been here before, but my seat was on the other side. The topic was very relaxed, sweeping away the tension from when they first met. Yi Qian followed his gaze to the side and heard him chuckle. "My seat in the first row of the 3rd district. The instructor knows that I'm dishonest and is afraid that I'll find an excuse to sneak out. Every time this happens, he orders me to sit in the front and strictly orders the students around me to supervise me. If I still manage to sneak out, the students supervising me will be punished." Sneaking out in the middle of a gala? Captain Xia was really capable of that. Yi Qian suppressed his laughter when he heard that. When Xia Jinyuan saw her trying to hold back her laughter, his eyes were filled with warmth. It was the right decision for him to rush over immediately after he finished his report because his little fox was too loyal. The sudden death of the J5 would definitely cause her psychological trauma, so he had to come over to accompany her. Even if he missed the best opportunity, he wanted to come and accompany her. He wanted to let her know that he and his other comrades had returned. The sudden arrival of G3 and the others was probably arranged by the military. From this, it could be seen that the military was also very worried about the little fox's mental health. They were afraid that the J5's sacrifice would leave an indelible scar on her that would affect her future combat ability. This was something that everyone was concerned about. The J5 had already left, but the surviving comrades still had to continue fighting. There was no guarantee that they would be able to survive until they were discharged from the military, but at least they had to ensure that the surviving comrades would live well and continue fighting without being affected. Everyone was worried about Yi Qian, worried about the only female soldier in the team. When the mission ended, the first thing that came to their minds was Yi Qian. The military also wanted them to rush over to see Yi Qian and guide Yi Qian. When they saw her dazzling on stage in a different way, when they saw her expression in her sword dance, they felt both proud and sad. They were proud of the independence of the little fox, but also sad. She was healing her wounds alone and recovering alone. Chapter 3154. Before he knew it, his little fox had already grown so big. Even without him by her side, she could handle some things on her own. She could slowly get through it all by herself. The J5's sacrifice. She had endured it all by herself. Unlike the others, she had turned the sorrow in her heart into hatred and swept the battlefield with her weapons, allowing the hatred in her heart to gradually fade as the enemy fell. But she was different. While she was in the country, she saw her comrades who had sacrificed themselves return home. She saw her comrades, who she could have chatted with happily, no longer able to open their eyes. Although half of her internal grief turned into tears and flowed out, the true deepest pain could not be vented. Therefore, she used another method to vent her pain and remember her comrade. She used the sword dance to soothe the pain in the depths of her heart. She used this method to lick her wounds alone until she walked out of her grief. Fortunately, she walked out of her grief. In her eyes there was no silence, only growth. Xia Jinyuan's fingers gently stroked the back of her hand. Until the end of the party, Xia Jinyuan still held Yi Jian's hand and did not let go. When it was time to line up and leave the venue in an orderly manner, Xia Jinyuan could no longer mingle with the students and had to leave early. "We'll wait for you at Milky Way Plaza. Come early." The roll call was at 9:50, and it was only 9 o'clock. 50 minutes was enough for her to chat with G3 and the others. The rest of the time should belong solely to her boyfriend. The astute Lieutenant Colonel Xia knew clearly that he wouldn't be taken advantage of. Yi Qian didn't know the twists and turns in his heart. She thought about it and realized that 50 minutes was too long. She should ask for leave from the platoon leader in advance. She was the class monitor, so class monitors could only ask for leave from the platoon leader. She nodded without hesitation. "Okay, you go out first. I'll come and find you when I'm done here." "Okay, I'll wait for you." Xia Jinyuan put on his military cap. Although they were about to meet again, he still couldn't bear to part with her. He gently squeezed her hand and smiled. "It's snowing outside. Don't stay too long and catch a cold." "It's fine if they catch a cold, but if I catch a cold, I'll stay at school and not leave. I'll pester you every day." She wasn't afraid even if he pestered her. The undaunted Yi Qian raised his eyebrows. "Sure, then I'll wait for you to pester me. Aren't you afraid of being seen by your classmates?" "Don't be afraid. Didn't you just say that you're my brother?" "Since my brother is here to look for me, I don't mind accompanying him for a few more days. Besides, you're our senior brother. It's normal for junior sister to accompany senior brother for a few days when he returns to school." The little fellow was becoming more and more eloquent, and he could no longer be intimidated. On the stage, the host invited all the contestants to come up to the stage. At the same time, he had already selected a few of the best performances. Yi Qian and Su Wen's ambush from 10 sides won. When Xia Jinyuan heard the host call out Yi Qian's name, he quickly replied, "If you're not afraid, then I really want to catch a cold." He had no choice but to swallow the rest of his words. After receiving a smile from Yi Qian, he watched as Yi Qian and the other female student returned to the stage. The little fellow was indeed getting bolder and bolder. Xia Jinyuan shook his head with a smile. It was not until Yi Qian went up to the stage that he stood up and left quietly. As a result, he missed seeing Qin Xiu go up to the stage. Song Jiqiu turned her head and glanced behind her, only to see a tall and strong man flash behind her. In the blink of an eye, he walked out of her limited field of vision. Chapter 3155. Just now Wu Bingqing had said that Yi Qian's brother had come and wanted to sit with Yi Qian, so they had exchanged seats. However, he clearly remembered that Yi Qian did not have a brother. How could there be a brother coming to see her? Song Jiqiu, who knew Yi Qian's family background, became serious after hearing this. She immediately asked Wu Bingqing about the man's identity. Wu Bingqing said, "He's a major and showed me his pass, so I didn't ask any more questions." Yi Qian did not have parents, nor did he have an elder brother. Elder brother? Where did this elder brother come from? Just now, he had been sitting and could not turn his head to look behind him. Now, when all the performers went on stage to express their gratitude and all the students stood up, he took the opportunity to turn his head and look. Unfortunately, the lights in the venue were too dim, so he could not see the person's face clearly. He could only vaguely see a tall and slender man. The back of an adult man. Was he Yi Qian's brother? He did not doubt the man's identity, but wondered why he called himself Yi Qian's brother. The students who had won the best performance stood at the front of the stage and shook hands with the leaders. Yi Qian and Su Wen also shook hands with the leaders and were highly praised. When Qin Xiu was still in the front of the audience, Yi Qian had already seen him. Under the light from the stage, she only needed to raise her head slightly to see him. When he shook hands with Yi Qian all the way, the smile on his face became much wider. "I said before that I would come to the school to see you when I was free. I didn't expect it to be delayed until now. Previously, I felt a little regretful that I came so late, but today I only feel lucky to see your sword dance." Qin Xiu held Yi Qian's hand with a little force, but he did not hold it for a long time. He only held it for a few seconds longer than usual before he put it down. The sword dance was so shocking that it made me feel like I was watching a life-and-death battle on an ancient battlefield. I couldn't wake up from it for a long time. "Yi Qian, I've seen another side of you." Qin Xiu, who wanted to speak to Yi Qian, did not pause for even a moment. He finished speaking in one breath and even secretly adjusted his breathing. Yi Qian, on the other hand, was full of admiration for him. As expected of a diplomat, he could speak so much in one breath without pausing. "Thank you for exaggerating. I've only just discovered this side of mine. I didn't even notice it before." Because they were acquaintances, Yi Qian joked with himself. Su Wen, who hadn't shook hands with him yet, couldn't help but glance at him. She had clearly heard the introduction of the guest's identity. This guest was the counselor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was so young and most importantly, he was so handsome. Su Wen, who had been paying attention, was already prepared to shake hands with him. Who knew that the young and handsome counselor of Foreign Affairs would say so much to Yi Qian? The music was so loud that she pricked up her ears, but she couldn't hear a single word. But one thing was for sure. Yi Qian knew this counselor of Foreign Affairs, and they were very familiar with each other. In the beginning, the counselor of Foreign Affairs only shook hands for a few seconds. Their lips moved slightly, and then it was over. But when it came to Yi Qian, after shaking hands for a long time, he spoke more, and the smile on his face became deeper. All in all, it was clear that the two of them were very familiar with each other. When it was her turn, Qin Xiu also politely said, "Thank you for your hard work. Your performance was wonderful." Then he politely walked to the next student. Chapter 3156. This difference in treatment. Boss. Su-won, who had been waiting for the diplomat to say a few more words, was dumbfounded. Did the elegant diplomat not see the excitement in her eyes? She was Jane Eyre's good friend, roommate, and comrade. He actually dismissed her with just one sentence. So angry. What should I do? Before she even reached the team, Su-won couldn't wait to ask Yi Qian with a smile. Come, little Jane Eyre. Tell me honestly what the handsome diplomat said to you just now. I felt like he said a lot, but I was so stunned that I couldn't hear a single word clearly. Tell me how you met him. I can tell that you two are very close. Yi Qian was in a hurry to ask for leave from the platoon leader so that she could go to Galaxy Plaza to find her comrades. Seeing that Su-won wasn't going to give up until she answered, she said helplessly, "I've known Qin Xiu since high school. We've known each other for so many years. Of course we're close. I'll go ask for leave from the platoon leader first. I won't be going to the roll call tonight. I'll go back to the dorm and see how things go. An old friend is here. You should keep her company. Go quickly. Qin Xiu will be attending as a special guest. It won't be a problem for you to ask for leave from the platoon leader." Yi Qian explained, "It's not him. Don't make wild guesses. I'll go look for the platoon leader first. You and He Jing go back to the dorm together." Wasn't it the handsome diplomat? Who was it? Su-won actually wanted to know, but since Yi Jian didn't say anything, it wasn't convenient for her to get to the bottom of it. So, she said, "Then quickly go and apply for leave. You can leave the team alone when you get out later." It was impossible to leave the team alone in the venue. This was discipline. Yi Qian rarely missed roll call because of personal matters. Plus, she wasn't going out. She was in school, so the platoon leader happily agreed. After the whole class lined up and left the venue, Yi Qian immediately rushed to Galaxy Plaza. There was still a short distance between the venue and Galaxy Square. Yi Qian, who had originally walked quickly, started running in the end. She wanted to see Captain Xia as soon as possible. She wanted to see her comrade as soon as possible. At 9:10 a.m., Yi Qian's slender figure was running around the campus, while Qin Xiu was waiting for Yi Qian to come over. Ambassador Qin Dingkong wanted to meet Yi Qian, so the school leaders sent students to look for him in class. Soon, the student returned, but there was no sign of Yi Qian beside him. Qin Xiu, who had been waiting with joy, felt his heart sink. He didn't come? Was she aware of his unfinished words in Estonia? Was she avoiding him now? Qin Xiu clenched his fists tightly when he heard the returning student say, "Yi Qian just asked the platoon leader for a leave of absence. He said that he had an old friend coming to school and wanted to accompany them for a walk around the school. He was absent for roll call. An old friend came to school and asked for leave to attend roll call?" Qin Xiu, whose heart had been heavy, suddenly brightened his eyes. Could it be that he was here for him? Soon, the light in his eyes dimmed again. That shouldn't be possible. In Yi Qian's eyes, he couldn't be considered an old friend. He could only be called a friend that they were familiar with, but not too familiar with. Therefore, Yi Qian couldn't have asked for leave because of him. Ambassador Qin Dingkong secretly glanced at his son. When he saw Qin Xiu's gloomy face, he sighed softly in his heart and smiled at the school leaders. "It seems that I'm late. It's okay. We can meet again next time. Political Commissar Zhong, it's getting late. I don't want to stay any longer. I need to go back to the hotel early to rest and catch the morning flight at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning." The matter between Qin Xiu and Yi Qian was going to be difficult. If the young lady really cared, she would definitely come and meet Qin Xiu after not seeing Qin Xiu for so long. She knew about Qin Xiu's situation at school. Chapter 3157. but she didn't. It could be seen that she didn't have Qin Xiu in her heart, not even a little bit. Qin Xiu still wanted to wait. What if Yi Qian really asked for leave to look for him? Dad, it's snowing heavily outside. The hotel is still some distance away from the school. For safety's sake, why don't we stay in the school tonight? Qin Xiu suggested. He wanted to stay. If Yi Qian didn't appear, then he would go and look for her. He couldn't keep dragging it out like this. He had to tell her his thoughts as soon as possible. He had to let her know what he meant. If it was really impossible, he had to let it go slowly. Ambassador Qin Dingkong knew what his son was thinking, but he didn't make any arrangements beforehand. It was too rash to stay. Ambassador Qin Dingkong, who was still worried, heard Political Commissar Zhong say, "Counselor Qin is right. Why should we give up what is near at hand and seek what is far away? Ambassador Qin, there is a VIP room in the school. If you don't mind, you can stay in the school tonight." Then, sorry to disturb you. For the sake of his son, Ambassador Qin Dingkong didn't refuse. He would stay for one night. He wanted to see if Qin Xiu and Xiao Yi were fated to be together. The small building where the VIP rooms were arranged was a little far from the venue. The car was parked outside the venue, so they simply took the car to avoid the snow and wind. When they got in the car, Ambassador Qin Dingkong advised his son, "Qin Xiu, Xiao Yi is a good girl, but she doesn't have you in her heart. She can't even be considered as an old friend. If there is no hope after tonight," his words were a little cruel. Ambassador Qin Dingkong paused for a while before continuing, Why don't you just give up?" The heater in the car was turned on. Qin Xiu tugged at his tie and lowered the car window a little to let the cold air in from the outside to blow away the restlessness in his heart. The car drove very slowly on the campus. The squeaking sound of the car running over the snow drifted into his ears. It was so piercing that it annoyed him. "Dad, I haven't even started with her yet. How can we stop here?" Qin Xiu, whose jaw was a little tense, frowned slightly and turned to look out of the window. He looked at the campus left behind by his beloved girl. "If tonight is not possible, then I'll wait a little longer. Wait until she graduate." Ambassador Qin Dingkong did not try to persuade her again. Love was not something that could be persuaded. She had to figure it out herself. The car passed by the driveway outside the Milky Way Plaza. The snow-white headlights illuminated the road ahead, but they did not illuminate a slender figure running towards the center of the plaza. Xia Jinyuan, who had been chatting while walking, suddenly stopped. He turned around and saw a figure running not far ahead. Her figure ran very fast. Every step was as light as dancing on the snow. From her waving hands, he could feel the joy in her heart. The snow on the plaza was so deep that it covered the soles of her feet. Every step she took made a squeaking sound. Yi Qian listened to the neat sound of stepping on the snow, and the smile on the corner of his mouth never disappeared. It was so good to have them by her side. The familiar people, the familiar voices, and the familiar laughter. Everything was so familiar and real. It made every step she took feel particularly grounded. G3 was speaking. "You will have a big exam the day after tomorrow. After the exam, you will go back to the base with us." Major General Yang said that the ceremony should be grand. "We can't be too stingy, so he asked us to bring the military order documents over. We will hand them over to the academy tomorrow morning and leave on the day of the exam." Chapter 3158. Yi Qian had always been looking forward to going to the Snowfield Brigade's base for training. Ever since she found out that Captain Xia was from a mysterious Special Forces unit, she had wanted to go. J5 had also promised her that he would bring her to the base for training with his comrades. When she thought of J5, Yi Qian felt a little bitter again. J5, who promised her, had already left for good. He would never wake up again and would never smile at her and say, "Qing Niao, you're a female soldier, so why are you even better than the male soldiers? Qing Niao, if you go to our brigade's base for training, you'll definitely give all the male soldiers a shock. Our brigade has never had a female soldier appear before." He added, "After joining the brigade, you'll be closer to the captain." Yes, after joining the brigade, she would be closer to Captain Xia. However, there would no longer be a J5 in the brigade who would be worried about the consequences if her relationship with Captain Xia was exposed. Xia Jinyuan, who had deliberately been separated by his comrades, did not notice his lover's strange behavior. When he came over, the army did not mention that he had brought any military documents with him. He also did not hear Major General Yang mention that Yi Qian would be going to the brigade for training during the winter break this year. Z7's Han Zheng said, "Boss Yang told us to show you the military documents first so that you can feel at ease. He also told us to bring you along with us and not let you go alone. He also said that it would be better to show our sincerity if we went to welcome him together." Boss Yang. That was how the Snowfield Brigade members addressed Major General Yang when they were outside. They also described themselves as working for him. This was the first time Yi Qian had heard of it. When she heard that, she smiled and said, "Does Boss Yang know that you all call him that?" He knows. You can also call him Boss Yang when you're outside." V8 laughed and answered first. "Besides, we didn't say that. He said it himself." Boss Yang didn't say it himself either. It was Dai who suggested it first, and then Boss Yang adopted it. T6 suddenly said an unfamiliar name. After he said that, the atmosphere suddenly became a little more oppressive. Dai Yi Qian, who had a faint smile on her lips, was stunned for a moment. She was still wondering which comrade Dai belonged to, but before she could ask, the atmosphere suddenly changed. As smart as she was, she knew who it was. She remembered where she had seen the word "e" before. Nye, the name of the J5. Han Zheng was walking to Yi Qian's left. He was the first to notice that the smile on Yi Qian's face froze. He paused slightly and coughed softly, reminding his comrades to avoid the J5. The T6 combatant, who was walking to Yi Qian's right, glanced at Yi Qian uneasily. There was a hint of annoyance on his delicate face. He had clearly agreed not to mention the J5 in front of Yi Qian, but that mouth of his really deserved a beating. Dai made many suggestions, and the boss adopted most of them. Xia Jinyuan did not avoid the topic and mentioned the J5 again. This was a pain in everyone's heart, so it was better not to mention it if possible. It was better to keep it in mind. But they had to bring it up tonight. After tonight, everyone would have to bury the J5 deep in their hearts and not mention it so easily. I remember when I first joined the team, the J5 was the temporary captain of the team. He was so happy when he saw me coming over that I thought he would take me down a notch like you guys do. But who knew that he would say, "You're finally here." If this position of captain is really inhumane, forcing someone who's in charge of guidance into the position of captain is making things too difficult for me. At the time, I thought that he was the only guy in the team who looked forward to my arrival. The rest of them wished they could stuff a rocket launcher under my feet and send me as far away as possible. Chapter 3159. His words caused his comrades to laugh heartily. Ha, he was right. At that time, they were extremely repulsed by the captain who came out of nowhere, especially when they saw such a young and delicate face. They were all veterans who had been in the brigade for a few years, so none of them were convinced. Later on, they were convinced. Before the laughter of his comrades could stop, Xia Jinyuan continued, but he said, "Captain is really not a human. Then, as the person who came to take over the position of captain, I'm not a human." He scolded me in a roundabout way. Later on, he really admitted that he did scold me in a roundabout way. When he saw that I didn't realize it, he was secretly happy. At the mention of the J5, Yi Qian, whose heart was heavy, couldn't help but purse his lips and laugh. This was indeed something that the J5 was capable of. Wu Yu and the others also couldn't help but laugh. Yi was such an interesting person. Ha 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 ha, he liked to play dirty tricks. Everyone laughed. Only Xia Jinyuan sneered coldly and said calmly, "What's there to be happy about? I'm new here, so I don't want to get hurt by a knife in the hands of a captain. It won't be too late to look for trouble after I feed him." As expected of their captain, he had already started playing the game the moment he arrived. It was no wonder that the group of people who had been pranked by him were unable to find fault with him and could only obediently be taught a lesson by him. Xia Jinyuan recalled the days when he was parachuted into the Snowfield Brigade. Without mentioning anything else, he only mentioned the battle of wits and courage with the J5, which made everyone convulse with laughter. And these were all things that Yi Qian didn't know, and the other comrades only knew a little about. Therefore, when he said this, his comrades who were a little depressed at the mention of the J5, Nye finally laughed. When Xia Jinyuan saw that Yi Qian also laughed, his slightly tense heartstrings gradually relaxed. Tonight, he had to talk about the J5's sacrifice. After that, everyone had to turn the page. They couldn't keep it in their hearts like a malignant tumor and let it fester. T6 combatant Wu Yu, who had been feeling down because of his comrades and Jiasen, was finally in the mood. He said in disbelief, "That's impossible, right? When did the J5 make things difficult for you?" When he became the interim captain, we all raised our glasses to celebrate. Only he looked like he was on his way to the execution ground. He didn't want to be the captain at all, so why would he make things difficult for you? After the T6 combatant said that, he suddenly tripped on something under his feet and fell into the snow. Luckily, Yi Qian, who was beside him, had reacted quickly and pulled him back up. "Are you all right? It's flat ground. How am I tripping myself? It's clearly that bastard G3 tripping me." G3 didn't want to see their pig-like teammates anymore. Their captain would definitely make things difficult for them later. Him not liking the position of team leader has nothing to do with him testing me like you guys did. With that, Xia Jinyuan frowned and looked at Wu Yu with a clear and sharp gaze. "So, are you admitting that you wanted to make things difficult for me back then? And not test me?" When G3 heard that, he facepalmed. "Look, he's making things difficult. What did the T6 combatant mean by making things difficult for him? How nice would it sound if he said it was a test? And it wouldn't anger Q King, who had now become the real captain." At this point, the T6 combatant finally realized what had happened. He also understood why G3 tripped him just now. Serves him right. Serves him right. Chapter 3160. After regaining his senses, T6 Wu Yu immediately smiled and replied righteously, "It was definitely a test. I used the wrong adjective just now. Captain is wise and powerful, so how could we possibly make things difficult for him? We didn't make things difficult for him, we supported him." V8, who had a good relationship with Wu Yu, could not stand it any longer. You'd better stop talking. Who knows how many people you'll offend with that mouth of yours." Q King also understood that they were clearly trying to make things difficult for him. Since he had let it slip, he might as well admit it openly. If he confessed, he would be lenient, but if he resisted, he would be strict, understand? Wu Yu was a little sad. Could this be the main reason why he had been single for so many years? Xia Jinyuan laughed coldly. "So you weren't trying to make things difficult for him? Does that mean I got it wrong?" "No, I did want to make things difficult for a paratrooper like you at that time. I have to admit." V8 admitted it openly. There was nothing he could do about it. The captain was already laughing so sinisterly. If he did not admit it, it would be equivalent to courting death. G3 was responsible for changing the topic. Logically speaking, you would be the least likely to make things difficult for you. Before you joined the team, he was complaining all the time and even wanted to grab a comrade from the team to be the temporary captain. How could he possibly make things difficult for you? Yi Qian, who was walking in the middle, heard this and smiled deeply. Look, these were her comrades. They were a group of very cute gentlemen, a group of righteous soldiers, and good men who could support the heavens. She did not laugh. When Xia Jinyuan, who had been observing her, saw this, he felt even more relieved. The other comrades were fine. They could personally avenge the J5 and vent the anger in their hearts. Those who couldn't personally avenge the J5 gathered together to vent their anger and comfort each other until they walked out of the haze. What about his little fox? She could not do anything. Even if her closest comrade had sacrificed himself, she could not tell anyone else in school. Not only could she not say anything, but she could not let the students around her or her roommates see it either. She needed to heal her wounds alone and bear the grief silently by herself. Fortunately, she found another way to mourn for her comrades and didn't let her suffer alone. The smile returned to Yi Qian's face. Xia Jinyuan, who was in a much better mood, finally answered G3's question. Because you guys are his closest comrades. He needs to be on the same side as you guys, so he can't betray you. Since that's the case, even if he wants me, the captain, to come quickly, it won't stop him from being in the same camp as you guys and giving me something to do from time to time. The tricks he used to find trouble for me were much better than the tricks you guys used to find trouble for me. Took me almost half a month to think of a way to pull him to my side. As soon as he said this, everyone except Yi Qian fell silent for a few seconds before saying the same thing in unison. F***ck. As for why he said F***ck, Yi Qian thought he understood something. J5 liked to do things in the dark. Captain Xia was also someone who liked to do things in the dark. When the two of them combined their personalities, it would be strange if their comrades had a good life. I knew it. I just secretly climbed over the wall. You'll find out in 10 minutes. So he was the one who told on me. I finally understand why you found out where I hid the snacks at the base. He was the one who told on me. I even cried and complained to him. He even comforted himself with a righteous look and said he would come and crusade against you. F***ck. It was all fake. Chapter 3161. Your snack-eating problem was cured by Captain at that time. What the hell are you relying on? You should thank Captain properly. He rolled his eyes at V8 and said to Yi Qian, you don't know how much he used to love eating snacks. Every time he went out for a walk, he would buy a lot of snacks. What's even worse is that in order to cover up his sissy problem, he even hid the bag of snacks here and there. We were all punished for this. At the mention of all punished, everyone was reminded of this incident. They rolled up their sleeves and wanted to beat V8 up on the spot in Galaxy Square. Xia Jinyuan did not beat him up. Instead, he took the opportunity to pull Yi Qian to his side so that there was no longer a human obstacle between them. You want to beat me up? Look at what Captain did. He took advantage of the chaos to pull Yi Qian to his side. We were all fooled. V8, who had been chased to the point of covering his head and fleeing like a rat, unintentionally glanced over and saw that the two of them were now shoulder to shoulder. They even took the opportunity to hold hands. He immediately started howling. Too sinister. Too sinister. His comrades who realized what was going on thought viciously, but they did not dare to say it out loud. They had no choice. After all, the two of them were boyfriend and girlfriend. It was normal for them to hold hands. It was just that they felt a little stifled. They also wanted to hold hands. Do you come, let's hold hands. V8 reached out his hand, his heart full of worry. Let me try holding hands. You won't feel anything when you hold hands. You'll only feel something if you use another method. Han Zheng, who used to be a womanizer, smiled as he imparted his experience. You have to find a woman first. It's no use looking for Wu Yu. He can't give you that kind of feeling. F***ck, old hooligan. Pervert. A few curses were heard at the same time, expressing their deep disdain for Han Zheng. This guy who had several girlfriends in the past was really something. He could show them off anytime and anywhere. He was so unlikable. Yi Qian looked at his comrades who were laughing in the snowy night. The smile on his face couldn't help but lighten up. Xia Jinyuan, who was holding her hand, looked at the laughing comrades in front of him and said softly, J5's real name is Nye. We call him De Yi when we're outside. V8's real name is Yang Shulin. T6's real name is Wu Yu. G3's real name is Yin Rong. Z7's real name is Han Zheng. Other than Han Zheng, I only found out the other people's real names this morning. We're not allowed to use our real names in the team. Everyone uses code names. When we're outside and not on a mission, we won't use our real names. Just like Nye, we only call him De Yi. V8 calls him De Su. This is the rule of the Snowfield Brigade. Until now, many of our comrades have already forgotten each other's real names. They are most familiar with their code names. Yi Qian restrained the smile at the corner of his mouth. After a while, he said in a low voice, I found out about J5's real name in that way. Captain Xia's is actually quite cruel. Wasn't it cruel to only find out a comrade's real name after he sacrificed himself? That's why I suggested to Mr. Yang that we should at least know each other's real names. We can't not know our comrades' real names because of our profession. Mr. Yang agreed. When you go to the team during the winter break, you'll know more of our comrades' real names. Yi Qian nodded lightly and didn't say anything. It was as if he had nothing to say. Chapter 3162. The atmosphere, which had finally livened up, became a little gloomy again. The J5 was like a minefield that couldn't be touched. Once touched, Yi Qian's mood immediately soured. Xia Jinyuan was determined to get rid of this minefield tonight. Your dance was very beautiful. I saw it. Derong and the others also saw it. Before you came, we had already discussed it for a long time. We all knew what you wanted to express. Yi Qian, you're really amazing. Without us by your side, you used a different method to get through it all by yourself. All of us admire you greatly. We are all saying that if it were any one of us today, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to do what you did. The J5 also really admires you. In his heart, you're already a qualified Special Forces soldier of the Snowfield Brigade. So when he knew he couldn't survive, he thought of you and asked me to tell you on his behalf that he had no choice but to break his promise. When Xia Jinyuan mentioned the J5, he didn't hold back at all. Just like that, he directly let Yi Qian know what the J5 said before he sacrificed himself. Yi Qian, who was walking slowly, seemed a little determined. In the end, he simply stopped and stood firmly in the snow. He raised his head and looked at Xia Jinyuan with his dark eyes. He asked softly, when the J5 left, did he say anything else? He did. When we found him, the first thing he said was that if he left, he couldn't hide it from you. He had to tell you that he left and that he was very sorry for breaking his promise. That one sentence made Yi Qian's eyes sting. Xia Jinyuan held her hand tightly and said very slowly, although he broke his promise, he still remembered you before he left. Yi Qian, I hope you'll remember him well. Remember that he didn't leave, he just retired from the military. We'll carry on what he didn't finish and finish it for him. And you, as his comrade, have the same responsibility to finish what he didn't finish. When he left, he was lying in my arms. We sang Farewell to My Comrade together. This song is sung every year when he retires from the military. He wanted us to sing it because he wanted us to not miss him too much. This time, he was just leaving the military and we can go visit him whenever we miss him. He also wanted us to know that he would always think of us and hope that we can take care of ourselves. Yi Jian, we've avenged the J5. We've destroyed their lair and didn't let a single one of them off. We've shot everyone at the same spot. We've avenged them. Mountains and rivers, we go against the wind and the current. We won't let the people's love for us. We'll meet again. Everything the J5 wanted to say is in this song. Now that we've avenged him, it's time for you to walk out of your sorrow. Yi Qian gently wiped away the cold moisture at the corners of her eyes. Then she smiled and said, "Actually, I've already thought it through. After I woke up from my high fever, Commander-in-Chief Xia's words made me think it through. The living still have to go on. As the J5's comrade, we have to carry on his unfinished wish and complete it for him. Captain Xia, at that time I've already thought it through. Later on, when I found out that you guys hadn't come back yet and that T6 had gone out to support you guys, I couldn't help but think and feel afraid because of the J5's sacrifice. Today, I'm very happy to see you guys come back safe and sound, but I can't help but think of the J5. I thought about how great it would be if the J5 also came back safe and sound and you guys could sit in the audience and watch me dance. How great would that be?" Chapter 3163. Xia Jinyuan raised his hand to wipe away the cold tears at the corners of her eyes and asked her, "Do you still remember what I said to you one year when you passed through the jungles of Yun Province and encountered Su Yu's team on a cleanup mission? A scout named Xiao Ji sacrificed himself. Do you remember what I said to you? I said, Yi Qian, if one day I sacrifice myself, or you sacrifice yourself, every evil that a living person shoots with a gun in their hands will be the best sacrifice for the martyrs. Yi Qian, you must remember my words. You must remember them well. None of us can guarantee that we will return safely after every mission. We sacrifice ourselves, but at the same time we protect this land that we love. This is the case for the J5. Yi Qian, why did the J5 say that we must tell you if he passes away? With your intelligence, you must know his good intentions. So, you must walk out of this. Don't be afraid to face it just because the J5 sacrificed himself. Do you understand?" His tone was very serious and did not allow Yi Qian to escape at all. Yi Qian did not run away. She just did not want to lose. "Captain Xia, I did not run away. I have always been facing it. The sword dance that you saw today was the way I faced it. I have already walked out of it." Yi Qian had indeed walked out of it. Especially when she heard Xia Jinyuan say that the J5 saw his comrades and said that they must tell her if he was no longer around. The sadness that had wrapped around her heart seemed to have come to an end and was being pulled away bit by bit. Thank you, J5. Thank you for letting her, a person who had been reborn, understand the preciousness of life. The preciousness of life lay in the fact that there were things that one wanted to do, people that one wanted to protect, homes that one wanted to protect, and precious friendships that one wanted to cherish. The comrades who were alive had to replace the comrades who had sacrificed themselves to complete their unfinished business. She would live well, wear the military uniform, shoulder the responsibility, and take every step with the J5's unfinished wish. Xia Jinyuan believed every word she said. When she said that she did not run away, when she said that she had always been facing it, when she said that she had walked out of it, he believed her. Because she was the little fox who bravely faced difficulties, shouldered the responsibility on her weak shoulders, and walked a broad path for herself. Snow began to fall from the sky again. Xia Jinyuan gently patted the snowflakes that had landed on her shoulder. "You have always been so brave all these years. You always show us a new side of you." So many years had passed. She had walked out of all difficulties, and no matter how difficult it was in the future, she would continue to walk out of it. He lived for his comrades who had sacrificed themselves, lived for those who cherished him, and lived for himself. "Captain Xia, sing Farewell to My Comrades for me. I want to hear it." "Okay, let's go find them and sing." "I don't think we have ever sung together." "Yes, no. After watching your dance tonight and singing together with you, it's a different memory. In the future, we will have many different beautiful memories. When we are old, we can sit by the fireside, comfortably lie in the rocking chair, and tell our grandchildren about the memories of our youth." Yi Qian walked towards his comrades with a hopeful smile in his eyes. He said softly, "At that time, you and I will be white-haired, and we will reminisce about the past when we were young. Now that I think about it, it is beautiful." That kind of life was indeed desirable. Xia Jinyuan could not help but narrow his eyes slightly. "Yes, when the time comes we can even call our former comrades, have a few glasses of wine, and have a few dishes. Old people live a leisurely life." Chapter 3164. This was his and Yi Qian's wish, that they could all live a peaceful and smooth life. The world was vast, and snow was falling. In the large square, 5 young military officers and a young female soldier were walking slowly as they sang J5's favorite song with deep emotions. It was also the song that his comrades sang to send him off before he left. When they sang in a low voice, "The road is long, the fog is vast, the revolutionary life is often broken up, the same separation, 2 different feelings." Xia Jinyuan tightened his grip on Yi Qian's hand and said, "If one day I also sacrifice myself, Yi Qian, please remember what I said tonight, and what I said to you in the beginning. Because none of them could guarantee that they would not sacrifice themselves. If that day really comes, please remember that you must hold on to your original belief. In the face of sacrifice, wipe away your tears and continue to move forward. In the face of blood-stained military uniforms, wash them clean and wear them again." The military's unyielding might was deeply engraved in their souls along with their military uniforms. The words failure, cowardice, and cowardice would never appear in the dictionary. No matter how difficult the path ahead was, they would continue to walk forward without hesitation once they put on their military uniforms. The responsibility and mission on their shoulders, even if there were mountains of knives and seas of fire in front of them, they would still charge forward fearlessly. This was the courage that modern military officers must have. Yi Qian did not seem to hear what Xia Jinyuan said, and continued to sing the entire song until the end. She would never forget what Captain Xia had said to her. If one day he or she were to sacrifice themselves, it would be the best sacrifice for the martyrs to use their guns and bullets to kill every evil. At that time, those words were like a bomb thrown into her heart. The impact of the explosion squeezed her soul fiercely and tore it into pieces. Then, under his cold voice and expression, the pieces of her soul that had been torn into pieces were pieced back together piece by piece, piecing together a complete Yi Jian who had been reborn from the gunfire and covered in blood. In the face of sacrifice, she could not run away, because she was a soldier. Yi Qian, after tonight, we must all forget our sorrow. We will never forget J5. We will always remember this brother of ours. In the future, as long as anyone is free, you must visit our brother's grave and tell us what happened this year so that our sleeping brothers will know." It did not matter that no one remembered J5's name. It did not matter that no one knew what J5 had done in the past. It did not matter that no one knew why J5 sacrificed himself, because his comrades would always remember him, forever and ever. That night, Yi Qian still returned to her dorm. She could not really talk with Xia Jinyuan and her comrades all night. At midnight, Xia Jinyuan sent Yi Qian back to the female dorm room. At midnight, Xia Jinyuan. On the way back to the dorm room, they ran into the inspection soldiers that military students did not want to encounter the most. When they saw the white light shining in their direction, Yi Qian's first instinct was to hold on to Xia Jinyuan and lie down behind the bushes, afraid that the inspection soldiers would discover them. This action reminded Xia Jinyuan of when Yi Qian was in high school. When he went to look for her at school, because of the flashlight shining in their direction, she reacted quickly and pulled him behind a tree to hide. In the end, he even kissed her. The difference was that back then, because she was young and their relationship was not as stable as it was now, he only dared to kiss her once and did not dare to kiss her again. But now it was different. It was not just one kiss but one kiss after another. Perhaps he did not have as many scruples as before. Both families already knew that the girl in his arms would become his wife, so, if there was a chance, he would kiss her quickly. Chapter 3165. You want to kiss me when we go to the base in a few days? Don't even think about it. It's hard to even hold hands. This time, Yi Qian didn't reject him like she did before. She also wanted to hug him tightly. Gently, gently. Don't roll in the snow. It'll leave evidence. This time, it wasn't Yi Qian's voice, but Captain Xia's. He did not expect to kiss her again and again. Then, before he could explode, Yi Jian, who had always been reserved and shy, suddenly threw herself at him. Fortunately, he was steady and did not fall directly into the snow. He hurriedly supported himself with one hand and supported both of their bodies. Yi Qian didn't respond. Instead of calling it a kiss, it was more like kissing and nibbling. It was fast and fierce, with a sense of ferocity. Xia Jinyuan couldn't resist it. How was this a kiss? There was no technique involved. It was just nibbling. Hiss, his lips were bitten by her. Xia Jinyuan, who had one hand on the snowy ground to keep the balance of their bodies, suddenly felt the pain and gasped. Even so, Yi Qian didn't stop with her fierce, cruel, and fierce kissing and nibbling. There was no technique involved. She nibbled wherever she wanted. Xia Jinyuan couldn't bear to reject her eagerness. In fact, she was still afraid. She was afraid that there would be more sacrifices. She was afraid that she would hear the news of his sacrifice one day. How could he not be afraid too? Everyone was afraid. No one wasn't. But no one could retreat because of fear. If they retreated because they were afraid of seeing sacrifices, they didn't deserve to be soldiers. They didn't deserve to wear the military uniform they were wearing. Someone had to sacrifice their life. Someone had to charge and break through enemy lines. Someone had to use their flesh and blood to stop the enemy. Someone had to stand up and protect this beautiful land from being trampled on. And these people were the ones wearing the military uniform. A soft sigh disappeared between his lips. Xia Jinyuan switched to his hands to support the weight of both of them and responded to Yi Jian's hurried kiss. Little fox, don't bite me so hard. I still have to meet someone tomorrow. It's fine if I hurt my mouth, but my face. I shouldn't bite too much. If I really bite until it turns purple, Wu Yu and the others will laugh at me tomorrow. They won't just laugh at me for a while, they will laugh at me for several years. Come, let's change to a gentler method. Get off me first, I'll teach you. The two figures lying in the forest got up from their initial squatting position. They found the best hiding spot and started another round of kissing. This time, Xia Jinyuan was in charge. During the kiss, Yi Qian was not irritated at all. After the kiss, her heart felt warm. As she walked out of the woods, she saw the bruises on Xia Jinyuan's lips and the bruises on his neck. Suddenly, a fire seemed to rise from the bottom of her feet, burning her face and ears. He seemed to have used a little too much strength just now. Yi Qian, who knew that she had used too much force, finally regained her clarity of mind. What had she done just now? How could she have done such a savage thing? How could she be so fierce all of a sudden? The red-faced Yi Qian wished she could just hide in the snow. Xia Jinyuan saw Yi Qian's evasive gaze and realized that she had done something ridiculous. He touched his lips and his deep eyes flickered. Then, he leaned closer to Yi Qian and asked her, "Can you help me see how many bruises are on my face? Do you want me to take care of them?" Yi Qian did not dare to look. She glanced at him from the corner of her eye and immediately lowered her eyes. She pretended to be calm and said, "They're not injured. It's just some bruises on your lip. Obviously, they'll be fine tomorrow." She felt a little guilty when she said this. Chapter 3166. That was just a small cut. She had bitten him and made him bleed. She regretted it again. Why was she so impulsive just now? The consequence of being impulsive was that Captain Xia was bitten by her, and she was embarrassed. You're really not hurt? Why do I feel pain on my lips, neck, chin, and the left side of my face? Can you help me take a look? Aren't you a little too harsh? How is that kissing? It's all biting. You have to practice if you're not good at it. Practice a few more times and you won't get hurt the next time. Like this, as she spoke, she took the opportunity to kiss Captain Xia again. Didn't you say your mouth hurt? Why are you still kissing? Yi Jian was still thinking about the wound on his mouth. Xia Jinyuan had already sealed the corner of her mouth with his lips, making her kiss his mouth with her words. His little fool, what's a little pain? A man bleeding is nothing. I'll bear with it. This time, Yi Qian was obedient and was not as anxious as before. The two of them could finally kiss normally. The two of them kissed for a while more before returning to the dormitory. After returning to the dormitory, Yi Qian quietly lay in bed and laughed to himself. How embarrassing! She had bitten Captain Xia. She had to practice if she was not good at it. It seemed that she had to practice more. It couldn't possibly bite him all the time, right? She didn't know how she was going to explain to Wu Yu, Han Zheng, and the others. G3 Yinrong and V8 Yang Shilin were fine, but Wu Yu and Han Zheng were not easy to deal with. Forget it, forget it. That was Captain Xia's problem. It had nothing to do with her. Sleep, sleep. Yi Jian, who was secretly happy in her heart, held her burning hot face and twisted a few times in the quilt like a fried dough twist. Then, she calmed down and lay down to sleep. Xia Jinyuan would not explain too much to his comrades. After he returned, he went back to his room to rest. Even if he wanted to explain, he would have to wait until tomorrow. How to explain? It was simple. It was a kiss. Let them be envious. Comrade Xia Jinyuan, whose face was injured, was so happy that he even whistled softly before lying down on the bed and falling asleep. Qin Xiu was the only one who didn't sleep. He sat quietly in the room with his eyes closed. He seemed to be asleep, but also seemed to be thinking about something. She didn't come. The girl he wanted to meet didn't come. She said she was going to see an old friend, not him, Qin Xiu, but someone else. If he hadn't left the school and was still on campus, then the old friend she wanted to meet was also living on campus like him. An old friend who could stay in the school couldn't be an ordinary person, but someone who could sleep in the school. For some reason, he could only think of one person. The man who used his actions to declare his sovereignty. Xia Jinyuan. The only person he could think of was Xia Jinyuan. If it was really him, how coincidental would it be for him to visit Yi Qian on the same day as Xia Jinyuan? Was it really as his father had said, that he and Yi Qian were not fated to be together? Were they really not fated to be together? No, he couldn't just accept it like that. He had to find out more. Qin Xiu suddenly opened his eyes and stood up from the chair. He would go and ask Yi Qian tomorrow. She would have to do morning exercises tomorrow, and he would wait until she found out. If she was really with Xia Jinyuan, the only thing he could do was turn around. The only thing he could do was turn around and silently wish her well. Qin Xiu, who had been feeling uneasy all this time, finally calmed down. Instead of worrying about personal gains and losses in the room, he might as well cut the Gordian knot. Chapter 3167. Yi Qian didn't think about Qin Xiu at all. She also didn't think that Qin Xiu would stay at school for her. The next morning, she brought Su Wen and He Jing to the track at 5:05 sharp. After running one lap, she suddenly saw a familiar figure in the snow. She was surprised. Qin Xiu? Did he stay at school last night? He came to the track early in the morning for training, wearing a suit, a coat, and leather shoes. This didn't look like training at all. He didn't need to train. Taking a walk? Coming to the track early in the morning, braving the cold, and taking a walk in the snow? You two run first. I'll go take a look. In any case, he was an acquaintance. When she saw him, she had to go over and say hello. Yi Jianjian let Su Wen and He Jing run first, while she ran towards Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu came out purely to try his luck. He wanted to see if he could meet Yi Jian, who was doing exercises on the sports field. Before he reached the sports field, he saw 3 figures running around the sports field in the snow-white world. The moment he saw them, he quickened his pace and walked towards them. When he got closer, he saw that one of the 3 figures was the girl he missed. In the cold wind, he heard flowers blooming in his heart. If there was no fate between them, could this not be considered fate as well? He didn't disturb them. He just stood by and watched quietly. Just watching like this made him feel very happy. Seeing Yi Qian walk directly towards him, Qin Xiu's handsome face had a warm smile that could melt the winter snow. She saw him. Yi Jian took big strides because she felt that Qin Xiu's clothes were a little too thin. He was only wearing a woolen coat on the outside and a suit shirt with a woolen sweater on the inside. It was a few degrees below zero in the morning, and she felt that he was very cold just by looking at him. Su Wen also saw Qin Xiu. Seeing this, even her running speed slowed down. She said with interest to He Jing, who didn't know the situation, "Jingzi, do you see him? The man in front is the special guest who came to our party last night, the young diplomat. He knows little Jane Eyre. Last night, when we went up on stage to thank him, this Qin Ken agreed with the other students. When he shook hands with them, he said the exact same thing. When it was little Jane Eyre's turn, I saw him say a lot to little Jane Eyre with my own eyes, but the music on stage was too loud, and the host kept talking, so I couldn't hear a single word clearly. At the time, my intuition told me that the diplomat treated Jane Eyre differently because the way he looked at Jane Eyre was bright and gentle. Jingzi, shall we make a bet? I bet this diplomat is here to look for our little Jane Eyre." He Jing only knew that apart from the leaders sent by the military, there were also diplomats sent by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was said that they were students who had graduated from the upper realm. A few of their senior brothers had gone to work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This year, they might choose a few more senior brothers to go over before the Ministry of Foreign Affairs could send someone to select the students. The news was reliable. Unreliable news wouldn't be spread around the school. Hearing this, she, who had never met Qin Xiu, laughed and said, "You're thinking too much. Who doesn't know that we can't date for fear of affecting our studies and training? The diplomat must know this too. Why would he come here to look for little Jane Eyre? Don't talk nonsense. Did you hear that? Gossip is a fearful thing. If it gets out, it'll change the story and become little Jane Eyre dating a diplomat. It'll harm little Jane Eyre." He Jing reminded him seriously with the last sentence. Chapter 3168. Su Wen smiled and said, "I know. That's why I didn't tell you when I came back last night. That's why I mentioned it to you when I saw him coming over. To be honest, that diplomat is really handsome, especially his nose. It's straight and handsome. I really wanted to touch it when I saw it. I also saw that his eyelashes are really long, at least half as long as mine. They're so long and thick. It's really enviable. If he really likes our little Jane Eyre, that's good too. They're a perfect match." He Qing saw that she was getting more and more ridiculous. She glared at her and said in a deep voice, "Stop talking. The more you talk, the more ridiculous it gets. No matter how perfect they are, nothing can be leaked. How many people in the school know little Jane Eyre? Almost all the students in the school know her. Needless to say, almost all the school leaders know her. The last time we lined up, she went to do something with the team leader. A team leader from another team happened to pass by and asked, 'Why didn't I see Yi Qian lined up today?' Even the other team leaders know Yi Qian. If something is leaked, won't the whole school know about it? At that time, Jane Eyre won't be able to say anything. No matter how she tries to explain, it'll be in vain. You can only say these words in front of me. You can't say it outside, do you hear me?" Although Su Wen had changed a lot, her temperament in the first year was too jumpy. She was a delicate young lady. Other than her academic results, she was really good at other times. Sometimes, she spoke as she pleased. Even though she had changed a lot now, Jing, who had always been steady, did not feel at ease with her. It was still necessary to remind her. I won't say it. Don't worry. If this kind of thing really gets out, I know it will harm little Jane Eyre. It's not easy for her. She has to rely on herself. As her comrade in arms and good friend, how can I say anything? Suwon was not angry at being warned. She had no choice. She had done too many wrong things in the past. She jogged and replied with a smile, "This kind of thing can only be said between us. I won't tell anyone." "It's good that you know." Little Jane Eyre didn't say anything herself, so we can't make wild guesses. I don't think she has the heart to fall in love, nor will she fall in love. She trains so hard every day. Even the instructor said that her training is comparable to the training of the soldiers in the field. Do you remember what Jane Eyre said she was going to join? She said that she wanted to go to the front line, and the brigade commander even praised her for her ambition. She's so busy every day and only wants to go to the field. How can she be in the mood to fall in love? Even if that diplomat is very good and outstanding, it's nothing compared to her future. We can't drag her down, understand? Jing admired Yi Qian the most. She called Yi Qian little Jane Eyre every day, but in her heart, she really regarded Yi Qian as the leader of the class, the big sister. She dealt with things reasonably and was very generous. Everything she did was open and aboveboard. If there were difficulties, she would do it. If there were no difficulties, everyone would do it together. In any case, she would not let herself walk in front alone. She worked hard to pull the rest of the class to the front. Although the physical fitness results for this semester were not out yet, the instructor had already revealed that the class results were good. They were not at the bottom of the brigade. He emphasized that Yi Qian's contribution to the class's good results could not go unnoticed. It could be said that Yi Qian was the focus of the school's training. Her future was limitless. With such a bright future, it would definitely cause an uproar in the school if it was spread that she was in a relationship with a diplomat. Suwon also knew in her heart that if she had not seen the young and handsome diplomat appear today, she would not have mentioned this to Jing. Chapter 3169. However, in her heart, she still thought that the two of them were quite compatible. Look at the two of them walking together. The man was tall and slender, while the woman was valiant. They were a match made in heaven. But Jing was right. It was nothing compared to their future. Yi Qian had worked hard to get to where she was today. She couldn't ruin everything because of a relationship. It would be better if she wasn't a famous person in school, but because she was, and the brigade commander once said that she had the power of a role model, she had to be more careful. There were no written rules forbidding relationships, but all the students knew not to touch them. Even if they did, they had to endure it. Like Yi Qian, it was better to forget about it. Endure it, you have to endure it. The two roommates thought that Yi Qian wasn't in a relationship, but in reality, Yi Qian was really in love. It was just that she was in a very secretive relationship. Because she had a goal in her heart, Yi Qian had been working hard for this goal. Therefore, this relationship didn't affect her studies. Instead, it made Yi Qian work even harder. They had been classmates for a year and a half, and they had been roommates for a year and a half. Yi Qian had never mentioned Xia Jinyuan. No one in school knew that she actually had a boyfriend. Even the students she spent time with didn't know, so naturally, Qin Xiu wouldn't know. Qin Xiu, who had caught her early, didn't hide his love this time. His warm gaze fell on Yi Qian from time to time, full of passion. It wasn't his first time at the University of Science and Technology of China. Although he had been here several times, it was his first time admiring the campus so seriously. Because of the people around him, the campus scenery that he had never paid much attention to was now the most beautiful scenery. Yi Qian didn't take the initiative to speak. She had no choice. She didn't dare to speak. When she saw Qin Xiu just now, she smiled and asked, "You stayed over at school last night too?" In the end, he smiled and replied, "Yeah, I was staying at a hotel. But since you were here, I decided to stay too." These words did not sound right. Although she was slow when it came to relationships, Qin Xiu's behavior this time was too obvious. If she thought she was overthinking things in Estonia, she was sure that she really didn't overthink things last time. The young diplomat beside her really took a fancy to her. Yi Qian was at a loss for what to do. She had to think of a way to reject him. This kind of thing had to be rejected. As long as he opened his mouth, he had to reject it. If he didn't say anything, she had to make her feelings clear. She couldn't be vague about it. He could not avoid the problems that had arisen. He could only solve them. Soldiers were swift and decisive. Even in the face of sudden romantic luck, they could still play a very good role. After walking along the playground for more than 100 meters, Qin Xiu pointed at the campus path in front of them, which was covered by trees. "Let's take a walk over there. I have something on my mind to tell you." Yi Qian looked in the direction he was pointing. There were many big trees in the campus, and they were all arranged in rows. The trunks were thick and strong, so walking among them was quite concealed. It was a good idea to talk over there. It was 5:20 p.m. now. The entire school would be out for exercise later, and the students would all come over. She could take the opportunity to clarify some things before the students started their exercise and quickly disperse to avoid any misunderstandings. If Yi Qian didn't know that Qin Xiu had feelings for her, she wouldn't have such a guilty conscience. Because she knew, she was already thinking of how to avoid arousing suspicion. Her real lover was also in school. After a long time, the students would naturally realize that it was a misunderstanding. But she didn't want to be misunderstood by the person she loved. Chapter 3170. Of course, she had to avoid this kind of misunderstanding that could be avoided. It was 5:30 in the winter, and the surroundings were gray. Only the faint light from the pure white snow illuminated the outline of the campus. It was very quiet, and only the occasional sound of snow falling could be heard. The two of them stepped on the snow side by side. Before they could say anything, 2 classes of freshmen walked over with shovels and brooms. They were in charge of clearing the snow in this area, and they had to start working now. Seeing the 2 people walking in front of them, the students of the 2 classes didn't pay much attention to them. A class monitor walked to Yi Jian's side and saluted his senior sister. He smiled and said, "Senior Sister Yi, the students of our 2 classes are responsible for this area. We might be a little loud later, please forgive us." After a semester of training, the freshmen already had the mold of a soldier. Their words and actions were no longer naive like they were when they were students, and they were more mature and steady. Yi Qian smiled and said, "Don't mind us." After the class monitor left, Qin Xiu smiled and said, "You must be very famous in school. Even the freshmen know about you." "I'm not really famous, but I'm often called out by the instructor during training and compared to this and that. After a while, my simple name has been etched in the hearts of most students." Yi Qian answered dryly. After she finished speaking, she smiled and said, "I'm going to finish my exercise soon, so I can't walk too far with you." She was reminding Qin Xiu to hurry up and say what he wanted to say so that they could leave. Qin Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry at her blunt words, but when he thought about what he wanted to say next, he felt a little embarrassed. He covered his fist with one hand and coughed before saying, "I was still thinking about how to say it. After all, this is my first time doing something like this, so I don't have any experience. I don't know what the consequences will be if I say it. I even called for help this morning to see what I could say to increase the success rate. In the end, my friend told me that there are only 2 outcomes after I say it. One is success, and the other is that we can't even be friends. It's very risky, so I have to be very careful. I don't want to have serious consequences where we can't even be friends. Yi Qian wanted to laugh when she heard this, but she felt that it wasn't appropriate to laugh now, so she held it in. But how was she supposed to respond to this? She realized that she couldn't answer the call, so she decided to remain silent. Qin Xiu was already too embarrassed to look at Yi Qian. Nuanyuan's gaze, which would have landed on Yi Qian's face, was now looking straight ahead. Due to his nervousness, he was able to talk and laugh in the face of another country's difficulties. The calm and composed Qin Xiu was so nervous that his back was tense. Even his slender hands were clenched into fists and hidden in his sleeves. Yi Qian, do you still remember that I said I would come to school to look for you? Yi Qian grunted softly before saying, I remember. The last time I came back with you, I wanted to come back earlier. But I didn't expect to see you in Estonia again and again because of work. At that time, I thought that it must be fate that brought us together so suddenly in a foreign country. At that time, I was impulsive and wanted to say what was on my mind. But in the end, it turned out to be a pity. I was just a minute away from saying what was on my mind. Qin Xiu stopped in front of a large tree. When Yi Qian stopped as well, he lowered his head and looked at Yi Qian with eyes as gentle as water. He walked over slowly, as if he was afraid of disturbing Yi Qian. Yi Qian, what I'm going to say next is not something I'm rash about. It's something that comes from the bottom of my heart. Can you please give me 5 minutes? I won't delay your exercise. Chapter 31-71. He spoke too carefully, as if he was treating Yi Qian like a porcelain doll, afraid that it would break if he wasn't careful. Actually, Qin Xiu was just worried that if he really said it out loud, they wouldn't even be friends anymore. Yi Qian was waiting for him to say it out loud so that she could reject him. Okay, go ahead, I'm listening. She nodded with a faint smile on her lips, waiting for Qin Xiu to say something next. Her smile made Qin Xiu heave a sigh of relief in his heart. It also gave him the courage to continue speaking. I've only met you a few times, but I don't know why, but every time I see you, the longing in my heart deepens. I just want to say something to you, but I'm always afraid of disturbing you. That time on the snowy mountain, there was an avalanche. At that time, I really thought that I would be buried in the snow. But you came, carrying a beam of light from the top of the avalanche. You appeared before me without warning, and you gave me hope of survival. Yi Qian, we've known each other for many years. Although we haven't spent much time together, and even when we do meet, we come and go in a hurry. We've never been close friends. But I don't know why, as if everything is predestined, every time I see you, my heart palpitates. It's as if I've found the best direction for myself. Speaking of which, with your intelligence, you must know what I want to say, right? Speaking of which, how could Yi Qian not know what he wanted to say? Qin Xiu, I know what you want to say, this. Can you wait for me to finish speaking? It wasn't easy for me to gather all my courage, and I've been waiting for today to confess my feelings to you. Can you let me finish speaking? Yi Qian only opened her mouth to say half a sentence before Qin Xiu hurriedly cut her off. From her face, he could not see a trace of joy, nor did he see any shyness. It was as if she was waiting for him to make himself clear so that she could seriously reject him. It was too calm, which made his heart feel a little cold. Yi Qian raised his eyes slightly to look at Qin Xiu. The young diplomat in front of him was, as Su Wen had said, very pleasing to the eye. He was handsome, elegant. His every move was extremely elegant. This was a man who was the complete opposite of Captain Xia, but they were both very outstanding. They were so outstanding that they were like the stars in the sky, seemingly out of reach. Then, she had already plucked her favorite star from the unreachable sky and held it in her arms, placing it in her heart. Therefore, no matter how outstanding and dazzling the man in front of her was, he was not hers. Qin Xiu, You don't want me to say anything because you already know what I want to say. No matter how much you say, the result will be the same. It won't change anything. Yi Qian sighed softly, looked into his eyes, and gave his answer. It's not the same. I haven't finished speaking. Even if the answer is the same, it's still different in my heart. Qin Xiu's heart went from slightly cold to penetrating like snow and ice, but his eyes were still warm. He smiled calmly and said, Yi Qian, I like you far more than you think, and I like my own heart. After knowing my own thoughts, I only have one goal. I want you to be my girlfriend, and in the future, I want you to be my wife. I know it's not suitable for you to fall in love right now. I just want to know, if one day you need to find a boyfriend, can you think of me first? Look at my qualifications. I shouldn't be too bad, and I don't have any bad habits. I look elegant on the outside, but I'm actually quite boring. I don't know how to pursue you, and I don't know how to coax you, but I will do my best to make you worry-free for the rest of your life. Yi Qian, can you give me a chance to take care of you? Chapter 3172. He promised her a worry-free life. When the same words came out of another man's mouth, Yi Qian realized that he didn't feel any ripples. Because no matter how handsome, outstanding, and dazzling the man in front of him was, he didn't belong to her. She didn't want much. Having Captain Xia was enough. With Captain Xia, she had already promised to be worry-free in this life. I'm sorry, Qin Xiu, but the man who promised me a worry-free life has already appeared. After he finished speaking, Yi Qian was able to face it calmly and knew how to answer. I don't need to think about finding a boyfriend anymore because the one who promised me a worry-free life has already appeared. And I already have him, so I don't need to think about anyone else. So, Qin Xiu, my answer is still the same. I already have a lover that I love, a lover that I love very, very deeply. The final answer didn't change, and it was even a little cruel. Because Yi Qian completely cut off Qin Xiu's thoughts and told him that she didn't need to find a boyfriend who would promise her a worry-free life now and in the future. It was a cruel answer, but it was also the best answer. Cutting the Gordian knot was the way to go. There was only room for the two of them in the world of love. If the flowers and plants outside really grew in, they had to be cut down immediately. They couldn't let them grow and grow. This was Yi Qian's answer to Qin Xiu. The sound of a freshman shoveling snow in front of them broke the temporary silence. Qin Xiu's slightly pursed lips finally curved into a faint smile. Actually, on the day at the Estonian embassy, I already had an answer in my heart, but I didn't want to give up. I wanted to come back and ask you again. Was it Xia Jinyuan? I can't think of anyone else other than him. Yes, it was him. Yi Qian nodded and admitted, he's very good. I like him a lot. He was still one step too late. He was still one step too late. Qin Xiu smiled bitterly. It seems that I'm indeed one step behind. If I had been honest earlier, the result might have been different. No, Qin Xiu, you're wrong. No matter how much time has passed, even if I didn't meet him and met you earlier, there's still no answer between us. She didn't even have the thought of sending Qin Xiu any consolation. She was so cruel that she was almost heartless. I understand. I should be the one apologizing. I'm sorry, Yi Qian. I've disturbed you today. Qin Xiu knew that he should leave. The girl he loved clearly rejected him and did not give him any chance, not even a chance to trace back. This is good, this is good. Now that he had gotten his answer, he could let go. I hope my confession today didn't cause you any trouble. At the same time, I hope we can still be friends in the future. This was his last request. Of course we can still be friends. However, I hope we can keep some distance between us before you find a girlfriend. I think this will be better for both of us. Every sentence was very cruel. Not only was there no hope, she even wanted to keep a distance. Qin Xiu's heart was cold. Okay, I understand. It's almost time for your exercise. I'll send you back to the field. No need, no need. Go back and rest for a while. I can go back by myself. She should keep a distance from him from now on. If she wanted to reject him, she should reject him directly. Why did she still want him to send her to the field? Chapter 31:73. Don't give others false hope. It's the same for everything. If you give them hope at the beginning, only to realize that it's just a lie, the person who has been holding on to hope will only feel more and more hopeless. I've already experienced this feeling in my previous life. Qin Xiu didn't take another step forward. He stood in place and said to Yi Qian, "Okay, then you go first. I'll walk around the school. I've been here so many times, but I've never really appreciated your school. This time, I want to take a good look. After all, I might not come here again in the future. After all, I might not come here again in the future." This was equivalent to telling Yi Qian, "Don't worry, I won't pester you." Yi Qian nodded lightly and looked at Qin Xiu calmly. "Goodbye, Qin Xiu. Goodbye." It was an indifferent and normal goodbye. No one could tell that the two had just confessed and rejected each other. It was quiet and easygoing as usual. Yi Qian turned and walked towards Chaoyang, while Qin Xiu stood in place and watched her walk away. He didn't take another step. He stopped chasing after her and didn't take another step forward. She already had a man she loved deeply and promised him a worry-free life. She didn't give a person like him, who came late, a chance. She didn't even give him a chance. She rejected him so straightforwardly. Just like her personality, she was magnanimous and natural. When Yi Qian's figure disappeared from sight, Qin Xiu turned and walked in another direction. They were two people who had never interacted before. One walked in this direction, the other walked in that direction. The opposite directions doomed the two of them. Yi Qian walked easily, while Qin Xiu's footsteps were a bit heavy. Because the moment he turned around, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his heart. It was as if something was suddenly pulled out from the depths of his heart. The pain came suddenly, as if someone had gouged out a piece of his heart. After turning around, it turned out that it still hurt. Passing by the students who were lined up to go to the playground, the young diplomat Qin Xiu was still calm. There was a smile on his face, but there was an unapproachable coldness. Ambassador Qin Dingkong had been waiting for a long time. After Qin Xiu left the room, he had been waiting for his son to come back. He had even packed his luggage and was waiting for his son to come back. Qin Xiu, who was sitting in the car, appeared. He signaled the driver to drive over to greet them. Just by looking at his appearance, one could tell that he had failed. Even from far away, one could tell that there was no smile on his face. Xiao Yi was indeed a good child, but her ideas were extremely upright. Without Qin Xiu in her heart, there really wouldn't be any follow-up. That child, she really disdained to do such a thing to climb up the social ladder. Therefore, Qin Xiu's shadow did not exist in her heart at all. There was no possibility of Qin Xiu and her being together. Qin Xiu said that he wanted to take a good look at the school, but he didn't have the time to visit. He was just forcing himself to find an excuse that looked as casual as before. The black car stopped. Ambassador Qin Dingkong, who was sitting in the car, rolled down the window and said to Qin Xiu, who was walking a little heavily, "Qin Xiu, get in the car." Qin Xiu suddenly stopped, as if he was shocked. "Dad! Get in the car. If you delay any longer, the plane will be delayed and the following work will be delayed." Qin Xiu's fingers were clenched so tightly that they were a little pale. He put his hand on the handle of the car door and opened the door a little. He raised his head and looked forward again. The bugle sounded, and the students' orderly commands came from not far away. There, the girl he liked was sprinkling her youth. "Goodbye, Yi Qian." Chapter 31:74. Qin Xiu opened the car door, got into the car, and closed the door quickly and cleanly. As the door closed with a bang, the inside and outside of the car were two different worlds. From now on, there would be no more worries. Goodbye, Yi Qian. Ambassador Qin Dingkong already knew the result without asking, but there were some things he still had to remind him. Qin Xiu, even if you are rejected, you have to maintain your gentlemanly demeanor. You have to be able to fulfill someone's wish. You have to know how to give up, how to be willing, and how to keep your distance. Don't cause trouble for others. Qin Xiu, these are the things you have to do after being rejected. Do you understand? Even if he was rejected, he must not lose his gentlemanly demeanor. Qin Xiu looked away, pursed his lips, and smiled faintly. Dad, I still have the basic demeanor of a person. She has someone she likes. As a friend, of course, I will give her my blessings. I will not resent her for not being able to get what I want, nor will I deliberately destroy her relationship with another man. I still have the moral integrity of a person. You don't have to worry about me. I have already told Yi Qian that I will not disturb her or get close to her in the future. I will maintain a gentlemanly friendship. If I meet her, I will nod, smile, greet her, then turn around and walk away. I will never do something as unprincipled as snatching someone's love. As his father, Ambassador Qin Dingkong was very satisfied with his answer. That's right. A real man should be able to let go of things. If you are willing to part with them, you can also tolerate them. He was indeed Qin Dingkong's son. Even if he was rejected, he did not lose his gentlemanly demeanor. In the face of his father's praise, Qin Xiu only slightly curved the corners of his mouth. Only his clenched fists showed how depressed he was after being rejected. It was his first time confessing, so he mustered up his courage. He was afraid that he would stutter when he said it, so he smoothed out his heart before saying it in one breath. He had to maintain his composure, but he was still a little depressed and frustrated. But so what? It was not like Yi Qian had to accept his confession. There was no such logic in the world. It was normal for Yi Qian to reject his confession. She had a boyfriend. His bottom line would never allow him to ruin her relationship with her boyfriend to achieve his own goals. Furthermore, given the relationship between Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan, it was not something he could ruin. Therefore, as a person, he had to be tactful and maintain his gentlemanly demeanor. If he was rejected, he had to let it go and maintain an appropriate distance. Ambassador Qin Dingkong's gaze swept past his clenched fists. His gaze was calm, and he no longer tried to persuade him. Knowing the bottom line, knowing the beauty of helping others, also knowing self-control. Since he had started it himself, he had to finish it himself. No one else could interfere. The black car slowly drove away. Yin Rong, who was standing not far away, said in surprise, "Isn't that the diplomat Qin Xiu? Why is he at school? Did the diplomat come from the sports field? Taking a walk in the middle of winter?" V8 Yang Shulin was even more surprised. "You woke up earlier than us." He came to school and woke up earlier than them because he was here to look for someone he should not be looking for. If it was J5, he would immediately realize that he was the only comrade who knew that Qin Xiu also liked Yi Qian. Xia Jinyuan, who understood, said calmly, "He is a special guest invited by the school to watch the gala. You guys came uninvited." A second later, he received a letter of challenge from his comrade. The words were too unacceptable. Could they still be good brothers? Chapter 3175. Let's go, let's do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 pull-ups, 100 squats, 100 arm bends, and 100 parallel bars. Let's do it together. We're so energetic this early in the morning. Count me in. I need to stretch my muscles and bones after waking up so early in the morning. I wanted to take a stroll in the snow early in the morning, but since Captain Xia said so, and you guys said so too, wouldn't it be bad if I didn't join in? The T6 combatant looked at the two of them who were rubbing their palms together and sighed softly. I want to go somewhere today to talk to the girl I like, but I don't have the courage. Can you send a representative to accompany me there? The comrades who were rubbing their palms together for a challenge were a little stunned. Then, they all stared at T6 combatant Wu Yu with blazing eyes. Good job. He actually had such an arrangement. How impressive. Come. First, we have to know what the girl you like looks like, where she is, and what she does for a living. Goes to school? Works? Or has she just started learning how to talk? Han Zheng was the first to speak with a smile. His last sentence seemed to be directed at Comrade Xia Jinyuan. Wu Yu was preoccupied and did not realize that the last sentence was actually directed at Comrade Xia Jinyuan. When he heard that, he glared at Han Zheng. Am I worse than a beast? Xia Jinyuan glanced at him and reminded him, watch your words, thank you. Wu Yu had a face full of question marks, but he did not say anything. V8 asked him, where is the girl you like? Tell us about her. The girl he liked was really impressive. Wu Yu said with a smile, she's a student, a college student, a sophomore, pretty, tall, and from the foreign languages department. She's determined to be a simultaneous translator. I've liked her for almost 2 years now, but I haven't confessed to her yet. I'm a little afraid and timid. Wu Yu, who had never told his comrades that he liked a girl, finally said it out loud this time because he did not want to leave himself with too many regrets. He wanted to finish all the things that he had yet to accomplish while he was still alive. When he listed out Jiasen's characteristics, his comrades all gasped. Even Han Zheng, who had once been in the 100 Flowers League, was shocked. Damn. University student, foreign languages department, translator, top student. Go, you have to go. I'll go with you. V8 Yang Shulin was the first to pat his chest. He would not hesitate to go through fire and water for his brother. Yin Rong, on the other hand, didn't need it. He and his girlfriend were already at the stage where they were talking about marriage. Their parents had already started preparing for their wedding. He then said to Wu Yu, do you bring De Lin along and see if we can solve his single problem together. As for Dajing, you don't have to care about him. He will only ruin things if he goes. This guy was too good at coaxing girls. What if he coaxed the girl that his comrade had a crush on away without him noticing? Han Zheng was very innocent. Why? He was single now, okay? We still have to wait here for 4 days. How about this? I'll go there this afternoon and come back tomorrow afternoon at the earliest, or the day after tomorrow at the latest. Wu Yu no longer hesitated and decided to leave today. However, before leaving, he still wanted to talk to Yi Qian to see if she had any good suggestions. After all, Yi Qian and Yi Qian had been friends for many years. Wu Yu's decision received the support of all his comrades. Xia Jinyuan was also very supportive. They were not young anymore and could solve their lifelong problems. If they could solve it on their own, they should solve it on their own. There was no need to rely on friendship. Chapter 3176. Wu Yu, who had the support of all his comrades, was suddenly filled with courage. Regardless of whether they agreed or not, as long as he went, even if he didn't get a satisfactory answer, he wouldn't have so many regrets. He had to hear an answer. He patted his chest and said, okay, I'll go. I'll be there in the afternoon. Captain Xia, please help me with the tickets. I won't be sending anyone. The tickets are tight and I have to spend more money. I have to save some allowance for my girlfriend. Damn it, we haven't even started dating yet. Han Zheng snorted. He didn't want to send him, right? What a guy. If we go down today, we can start dating. The courageous Wu Yu answered Han Zheng with a smile. This made the former playboy in Beijing feel a sharp pain in his heart. Was he being despised to this extent? Xia Jinyuan was happy to help Wu Yu and wanted to see Han Zheng suffer. He booked a plane ticket and reminded Wu Yu, go and see results. If you don't settle it, don't say that you're my comrade. If it wasn't for the fact that Han Zheng was always popular with girls and he was afraid that he would ruin Wu Yu's marriage, he would have sent Han Zheng away with his own money. That way, he would have one less third wheel between him and the little fox. After the plane tickets were booked, the challenge letters continued. The students hadn't finished their exercises yet, and the Special Forces soldiers seized the opportunity to compete. They wanted to defeat their captain. But what was the result? When Yi Qian asked for the result, V8 moved away from Yi Qian's field of vision because it was embarrassing to say it out loud. I won. Xia Jinyuan announced the result casually. At the same time, he glanced coldly at his comrade, who was valiant when they issued the challenge letters but didn't dare to appear in front of him after the challenge. He pursed his thin lips and said calmly, "Go back and practice harder. Each one of you is like a snowman. One touch and you'll break." They were wrong. They shouldn't have issued a challenge to the all-round soldier king. That was asking for humiliation. Did they lose badly? Yi Qian looked at Xia Jinyuan's gloomy face and felt uneasy. When Captain Xia was serious, he didn't care about anyone. In a few days, she would go to the base of the Snowfield Brigade. She was afraid that she would have a hard time there. No matter how much she trained in school, the school did not have some special forces training equipment. She had no way of completing the high-intensity daily training. She could only rely on the basic equipment in school to drag out the time. After a semester, he was afraid that the distance between him and his comrades had widened. Sure enough, as soon as he thought that, Xia Jinyuan turned to look at Yi Qian with a cold expression and said, "Same goes for you. If you don't pass the basics, don't even think about getting a day off during the winter break." She had already prepared herself for a day without rest. However, Yi Qian did not expect that her first day at the base would be so miserable. After everyone was scolded, Xia Jinyuan, who had high standards, let them go. Before he could ask if Qin Xiu had already looked for Yi Qian, Wu Yu pulled Yi Qian aside to ask about Injiasen. Yi Qian was very happy when he found out that Wu Yu was going to look for Injiasen in the afternoon. Seeing his uneasy expression, Yi Qian reassured him. "Don't worry. This time, I promise you will get what you want." This reassurance worked quickly. When Wu Yu heard this, his gloomy face suddenly brightened up and he was overjoyed. "Really? Ha ha ha, it must be true. You are Jiasen's best friend. If you say it's true, then it must be true." Chapter 3177. T6 combatant Wu Yu was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. "I'm relieved now. I don't have to worry about being rejected by her. The two of you already have some feelings for each other. Originally, Jiasen didn't make up her mind so quickly, but that terrifying love letter of yours scared her out of her wits. So, although you'll get a satisfactory result when you go over this time, be prepared to get beaten up by Jiasen before you reap the reward." So it was that love letter he wrote in one go that had helped him a lot. Wu Yu chuckled. It's fine. I'm thick-skinned and can take a beating. As long as she's happy, it's up to her. So what if she beat him up once? He would even be willing to beat her up 10 times. The strange love letter eventually became the wedge that pierced through the veil between the two of them, allowing Wu Yu to get what he wanted. Yi Qian saw that he was so happy that his smile reached his ears. Seeing the eagerness in his eyes, he thought of how Jiasen came crying to him on New Year's Day after receiving the love letter. He felt that Wu Yu might really get beaten up. No, with Jiasen's personality, it would definitely not be just once. It would probably be several times. Moreover, she would beat him up whenever she felt like it without any warning. Wu Yu no longer cared about anything else. He just wanted to get over there as soon as possible. "Then I won't be able to accompany you for the next few days. I'll go over to see Jiasen first. When the matter between the two of us is settled, I'll come back to gather with you guys and return to the base together." After saying that, he turned around and left. Yi Qian asked him, "Where are you going to find Jiasen? School?" Where else could he go if not school? Wu Yu, who had already taken a step forward, turned around again. Yeah, I'll go to school to look for her. Fortunately, she had asked. Otherwise, she would have gone to the calibration class for nothing. You definitely won't be able to find her if you go to her school now. It's already the holidays, so you should go to her house. You've been to Fujian town before. You can go to her house and look for her directly. Normal high schools had their holidays earlier than the military academies. They had already been on holiday for a week, so it would be strange if Wu Yu could find her at Jiasen's school now. Only then did Wu Yu react. He slapped his forehead and said with lingering fear, "Fortunately, I asked you. Otherwise, I wouldn't even remember that Jiasen is on holiday. Then I'll go straight to her house to look for her. Everyone in town should know her home, right?" As he spoke, Wu Yu's voice. Go look for her at home. He went to her house to look for her? Then, would the elders in Jia Xian's family chase her out with a broom? Not to mention entering the house, she would never be able to enter the house in the future. As Yi Qian listened, he also realized what was going on. He was speechless. It seemed that it was not appropriate to go to Jia Xian's house now. He did not know if Auntie Zhou would agree. He did not know if Uncle An was at home. If Uncle An and Auntie were at home, would they agree if Wu Yu directly went to Jia Xian, who was still in her second year of university, to date her? It was unlikely that he would agree. Just like Father Fu. When he found out that she was dating Captain Xia, his expression changed immediately. He was obviously unhappy. That seems a little difficult. Why don't you go find one of our former classmates and ask Jiasen out? As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Qian immediately changed his mind. No. You're already at her house. It's unbecoming of a man to sneak around. It's better to go directly. How about this? I'll give Jia Xian a call now and ask her where she is now. Fujian town is where Auntie Zhou works, but she also has a house in the provincial capital. I don't know if she's in Fujian town or the provincial capital now. I'll ask for you first. This was the best solution at the moment. Chapter 3178. Wu Yu didn't know how many times he had thanked Yi Jian. For the sake of her comrade and good friend, Yi Qian was worried sick. She didn't even care about her boyfriend and immediately called in Jiasen's mother, Auntie Zhou, who was still working at Fujian Town Hospital. She used Wu Yu's own phone as a communication tool. After making a call, Yi Qian confirmed her friend's exact location. She was also a silly girl. Just because she said that as long as Wu Yu had time, he would definitely come to school to look for her, she really stayed in school and didn't even plan to come back for the new year. When Wu Yu left, he seemed to have grown a pair of wings on his back. He wished he could fly to his beloved girl's side. Behind him was V8 Yang Shulin's sad eyes. Watching his comrade walk out of the school gate, he turned his head and said to his remaining comrade, "It feels like a mother is worried about a son traveling 1,000 miles. Do you think it will work?" Yi Jian was amused by his words and laughed out loud. Her comrades were like wolves and leopards in battle, ferocious and valiant. But in real life, one or two of them could be described with the most commonly used adjectives on the internet later on. Funny! One or two of them were funny in real life. To be able to write a love letter as a suicide note, scaring the girl he loved so much that she cried out loud, and this time, he even had the mood of sending off his comrade with the words, "A son travels thousands of miles and his mother is worried about him." When Yi Qian laughed, Yang Shulin's gaze fell on Xia Jinyuan who was standing beside her. He was blinded again. There was another pair in front of him. As for Han Zheng, he directly ignored him. This guy had an outstanding record before he joined the army and had countless girlfriends before he joined the army. In the end, V8's sad gaze fell on G3 In Rong. He and G3 were in the same boat, but why was he holding a bag in his hand? Bear with it. Fate hasn't arrived yet, but when it does, you will have a girlfriend. G3 In Rong patted his comrade's shoulder and said to Xia Jinyuan, "There are still 4 days left. I have booked a ticket back to my hometown. I will go back to see my fiancée first and gather back on time in 4 days. Then, In Rong left with a camouflage bag that only contained a change of clothes. V8 clutched his chest, heavily injured. You guys have a good chat. I have to go heal myself, damn it. You're bullying me because I don't have a girlfriend. In return, his comrades laughed mercilessly. Who could he blame for not having a girlfriend? She could only blame herself. After Han Zheng finished laughing, he saw the two people beside him standing side by side. They were wearing winter clothes of the same color as they stood in the snow. The man was tall and the woman was beautiful. They became a scenery in the snow, and he was an eyesore standing beside them. You two can take a walk. I have to go and comfort Dallin. Han Zheng left immediately, giving his good friend and girlfriend some space to be alone. As soon as he left, Xia Jinyuan smiled. He finally got rid of all these guys. He believed that he and Little Fox would be alone for the next 4 days, and there would be no more eyesores following them. G3 suddenly decided to find a girlfriend. It was all thanks to Captain Xia's kind reminder. The reason why Wu Yu was able to get a plane ticket to his girlfriend's school was also thanks to Captain Xia's help. The remaining 2 were easy to deal with. They didn't need to do anything and just disappeared from his sight. Comrade Xia Jinyuan had always been adept at the art of war. Although Yi Qian was alert and intelligent, he was still a little lacking compared to the captain of the Snowfield Brigade. Looking at V8's lonely back, Yi Qian said, Dallin is quite old. It's time for him to find a girlfriend. Chapter 3179. Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows. You want to be a matchmaker? You can't do it. There are too few girls around you, and the discipline is too strict. It's not easy. After Wu Yue gets what he wants, we can ask his girlfriend to come forward and see if she can solve the problem of being single in the team. This is a problem that Mr. Yang has always been concerned about. He thinks that we have too much hostility and need the gentleness of a girlfriend to resolve it. There were many bachelors in the Snowfield Brigade. According to Xia Jinyuan's understanding, only 3 of them were married, and the number of them who had girlfriends could be counted on one hand. Now that the captain was no longer single, he had to fulfill the promise he made years ago. After he was no longer single, he would take his comrades with him. Now, he had to slowly fulfill the promise he made long ago. If they could get 3 or 4 couples a year, they could basically be single within 5 years. They can't all be students. Students are a little delicate and can't stand us. They have to be more mature. The average age in the team is 28 years old. It's not too old, but it's not too young either. It's fine to find a girlfriend who's 6 years younger. Take me for example. I'm 6 years older than you. Du is 27 years old this year, 7 years older than your best friend. Although the age difference is a little big, as long as we can get along well, everything will be fine. As Xia Jinyuan spoke, he really took it seriously. He had no choice. He was the captain, and he also worried about his comrade's marriage. In the past, J5 and Major General Yang were the ones who worried about this kind of thing. Now that J5 was gone, he didn't know when the team's instructor would come over, so he had to worry about his comrade's marriage for the time being. Yi Qian was amused when he heard this. Jiasen is 1 year older than me. I went to school early, so some of my classmates are 1 year older than me, and some are 2 years older than me. Jiasen and you are also only 6 years apart, not 7. He's also an old cow eating young grass. It's better to reduce the age difference. If Mr. Yang finds out, he'll think that we're mentally unhealthy and ask us to go over for political and ideological lessons. At the mention of Major General Yang, who was stationed in the capital, Xia Jinyuan looked worried. Yi Qian, on the other hand, believed that one shouldn't rely on others to worry about important matters in one's life. One had to take the initiative. Take Wu Yu for example. If he hadn't sent that frightening love letter to Jia Xian, With Jia Xian's seemingly straightforward but actually difficult personality, the two of them would probably have dragged on. It still depends on fate. There's no need to deliberately arrange it. When fate comes, the problem of marriage can be solved. Xia Jinyuan chuckled and said, "It's true that two people need to talk about fate when they're together. However, you see, we're always outside all year round and there aren't many girls around us. We can't tell our families what we do, and we don't dare to casually accept the girls introduced by our families, for fear that they'll ruin our lives. So we keep delaying it. Little fox, not everyone is as lucky as you and me, as well as Deyue and Njyasin. There are many things that you can't get or you can't get but you don't dare to have. Take J5 for example. He obviously liked the girl who liked him, but in the end, he sacrificed himself and the two of them didn't end up together. It was because he was worried that after the two of them got together, he would leave his lover alive in pain. Yi Qian disagreed. In the end, you guys are too timid. You guys like to make your own decisions sometimes and think that you're doing it for our own good. You don't even ask if we like it or if we're willing. That's wrong. If all of you do that, I wouldn't find it strange even if the entire team was single." Chapter 3180. Why does it sound like she's blaming me? Lieutenant Colonel Xia felt wronged. He immediately pushed out his comrades to appease his girlfriend's sudden anger. "I didn't. I took action because I liked you. Look, you're only in high school, but I've already racked my brains to coax you and tie you to my side so that other boys won't get you. Otherwise, why would I scare you? Don't ride on a guy so easily." Hearing this, Yi Qian frowned slightly. When he was 14 years old, he fought with all his might against Captain Xia, who was only 20 years old at the time. In the end, he lost and was pinned under him. What did he say at the time? After thinking about it, Yi Qian slowly repeated the warning Xia Jinyuan gave him back then without missing a single word. "Remember, girl. Number 1, you're not allowed to sit on a guy's body, especially the waist. Number 2, you're not allowed to say things like feel, press, straddle, and ride to a guy." Lieutenant Colonel Xia had already taken a big step forward. Oh no, he accidentally let it slip and exposed when he started trying to trick that girl. When Yi Qian was 14 years old, he already had that idea. "Captain Xia, you're really bad. Back then, you already knew how to get rid of potential future love rivals around you." Yi Qian smiled until his eyes glistened like spring water. "It started back then. No wonder my comrades in the unit said they couldn't win against you." How could they win against him? She was only 14 years old, but he already had ideas and was planning step by step. Xia Jinyuan felt that everything he did in the past was extremely wise. Otherwise, how could he have a beauty by his side now? "That's why I'm different from them. If you don't like me, I'll gather everyone in the unit in a few days. You can criticize them one by one." "That's not right. How can you make your own decisions? That's not democratic at all." As long as his girlfriend's anger could be appeased, Comrade Xia Jinyuan didn't mind letting his comrades take the blame. It couldn't be helped. It was too difficult to find a girlfriend. His brothers would understand and not be calculative. The campus was equally quiet at noon. Most of the students returned to their dormitories to rest after lunch. Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan strolled into the depths of the campus from the entrance. This was also the school Xia Jinyuan had graduated from. He was very familiar with the scenery and even knew many stories that Yi Qian did not know. The two of them spoke one after another. Time was as quiet as a sculpture. Every minute and second they spent together was so rare. "I ran the most in the Milky Way Plaza, and the instructor was so angry that he yelled, 'Xia Jinyuan, run 10 laps for me. If you don't finish, don't even think about eating.' At that time, I had a huge appetite and often trained by myself. Skipping a meal was like taking my life away." As long as the instructor punished me by skipping a meal, it was more effective than any other punishment. Later, when the instructor, the platoon leader, and the regiment commander all found out about it, they used this trick against me. At the Milky Way Plaza, during my 4 years of military school, I could probably run 1 lap around the earth. Also, at the stairs of the library, I was a little unorganized when reading books. I was caught countless times by the leaders. Every time I was caught, I was sent to the fire escape stairs to do frog jump. Everywhere they went, Xia Jinyuan could tell Yi Qian how he had been punished in that place. Every time he was punished, he would continue to do what he did and never change. Chapter 3181. She now suspected that the reason why he was able to become an all-round soldier king was because he had been punished too much when he was in the military academy. The all-round soldier king's physical fitness had been punished. Xia Jinyuan thought so too. As he spoke, he couldn't help but laugh. Every semester, my physical fitness test scores were much higher than the other students. I even suspect that I trained myself because I was punished too much. After that, during the big competition, I did a few consecutive 100-meter rounds. Most people were so tired that they were paralyzed, but I could still run a lap around the field. Speaking of what happened before he was in school, Xia Jinyuan recalled that the instructor at that time did not shoot him to death. His temper and self-restraint were really good. At that time, the students would do everything together with him. Then, the instructors would have a headache, and the leaders would have a headache. After the headache, they realized that this kid didn't do anything out of line. It was just that the process was worrisome and scary. Our class has very few students, only half of what you have now. Not to mention the number of female students. There isn't even a single female student in a few classes. We were thinking about going to normal university to satisfy our cravings. I suggested it in private, but before we had a plan, Han Zheng couldn't hold back. When he went out, he really took a few students with him. I was dumbfounded. When did this guy become so impatient? Wasn't he afraid of being punished? Later, he was punished, but I wasn't. The university started promoting military training. I took 2 classes of students to normal university for military training. Han Zheng and a few students who went there first were punished. It was said that they shed a few layers of skin over the summer. Yi Qian was laughing so hard that he had to bite his lower lip to hold back his laughter. Han Zheng went for wool and came home shorn. Instead, he helped Captain Xia. However, Captain Xia was really dishonest at that time. Go to normal university? I wonder how many love letters Captain Xia received at that time? How many girls did he like? Were they pretty? That's right. Yi Qian's students were being petty. It seemed that she was too honest. She was afraid that he would be angry, so she rejected Qin Xiu once and for all, leaving no hope. In the end, the man in front of her was still thinking about how to climb over the wall to see girls when he was her age. He was simply asking for a beating. Xia Jinyuan immediately answered seriously, "No, there wasn't a single pretty one. I wanted to come back after a week of military training, but I never went out again. As for love letters, there's no such thing. I haven't received a single one." In fact, there were love letters every day, but he had never received one. Once they were discovered to have violated the rules of the military training, the consequences would be dire. He just wanted to take the students to have a look. He didn't dare to cross the minefield. Yi Qian hummed softly and coolly, indicating that he did not believe her. For the next half an hour, Lieutenant Colonel Xia Jinyuan spent his time reflecting on himself and coaxing his girlfriend. He learned his lesson and never mentioned anything about girls again. Whenever he did, his little fox would kick up a fuss. During his time in school, Xia Jinyuan was a student who caused headaches for the school leaders, but he was not bad. He was not bad at all. He would not do anything that violated the rules. He would not even touch the border. However, Even if you said that he was good, he really couldn't say what was good about him. He always liked to do things that caused headaches for the instructors and instructors. However, he always had reason and evidence, so the instructors and instructors could not punish him for violating the rules. In the end, they were so angry that they found a random reason to punish him. Chapter 3182. This was Xia Jinyuan's youthful frivolity. He was unrestrained and carefree, full of sunshine without a trace of haze. Just like him, even if he was bad, he was honest and upright. Even if he was bad, he was so bad that no one could hate him. They only felt that this bad behavior could also lead to a bright future. In the next few days, Yi Qian often laughed until her stomach hurt. Every matter was very Xia Jinyuan. It was not something that ordinary people could do, and ordinary people could not do these things. It was no wonder that Commander-in-Chief Xia had a love-hate expression every time Captain Xia was mentioned. It was indeed so. There was a hint of wickedness in his excellence. It was so bad that it made people on tenterhooks. They were afraid that one day he would go too far, and in the end ruin their own future and destroy themselves. Until now, he was still the same. From time to time, he would stir up some trouble which really made people feel uneasy. But for some reason, even Commander-in-Chief Xia was on tenterhooks, but she was not worried at all. She believed that he would frame himself in a square box and would never step out of it. Captain Xia, I thought of a sentence that I want to give you. Yi Qian stared deeply at the man beside her. Her dark eyes were full of love. I hope that after half of your life, you will return as a young man. She hoped that now and in the future, no matter how much time had passed, no matter how yellow the years were, the man she loved deeply would still live freely in that square box. This sentence was a famous poem in the future. She did not remember who the original author was, but at that time she felt that this sentence was very, very beautiful. It was so beautiful that it made her heart palpitate. Now, she wanted to give this sentence to Captain Xia. I hope that after half of his life, he will return as a young man. Xia Jinyuan repeated it again softly, then opened it and read it carefully. He read it word by word and understood Yi Qian's wish and what she wanted to express. His girl was so kind. She could always make his heart palpitate at that moment. I also hope that my girl will be the same in this life. He lowered his head and murmured softly. What should he do? He wanted to hold her in his arms and love her dearly. His girl, his lover forever for the next 4 days, whenever Yi Qian had time, Xia Jinyuan would appear by Yi Qian's side. He would accompany her to school and talk about her past. Because of Yi Qian, the two of them did not do anything out of line. They did not even hold hands. They strolled around the campus like normal friends. Even when they bumped into students from the same class, the two of them were magnanimous and did not make others think too much of it. Even though Su Wen and He Jing did not think that Yi Qian was in a relationship with that handsome young soldier, they still thought that Xia Jinyuan was Yi Qian's brother. This was what Qian Yanjun had said. Hearing the students in front of her saying in a low voice that Yi Qian's brother had completed 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 100 pull-ups in one go without any rest in between, Song Jiqiu frowned slightly. He really did it in a row without any pause in between. I heard from Yi Qian that she was trained by him in this way at that time. But it was not 100. He started with 10 and then slowly added them up. From 10 to 20, then 50, and then 100. Gosh, no wonder Yi Qian is so good. It turns out that he started training when he was young. What kind of expression is that? Even if you started training when you were young, why would you do it when you were young? You wouldn't do it, right? You would definitely run away from home. Chapter 3183. The student, who had been jealous just now, immediately gave up. You're right. I definitely wouldn't have done that when I was a child. I would have run away from home. So, this is why Yi Qian is so awesome. Everyone is awesome for a reason. No one is born this way. It's all acquired through hard work. Work hard, young man. If you can be like Yi Qian for 4 years in a row, no matter rain or shine, you'll be as awesome as she is today. Before you work hard, you must have a brother first. Without a brother, you can't work hard. Right. First of all, you must have a brother. Yi Qian's brother is really awesome. Both of them are so awesome. It's hereditary. Brother and sister. Were Yi Qian and the young soldier really brother and sister? Song Jiqiu didn't think so. She was the only one in the class who didn't think the young soldier who accompanied Yi Qian for a walk on campus every day was her brother. Yi Qian didn't have a brother at all. Song Jiqiu basically wouldn't participate in this kind of conversation. She just paid attention to it silently. On the 3rd day of the exam, most of the students in the class were revising in the classroom. Song Jiqiu needed to go to the library to check some materials. She didn't call other students and went to the library alone. When Song Jiqiu arrived at the library, it was quieter than before. When Song Jiqiu walked to a row of bookcases with books on electrical engineering, she saw a familiar figure sitting quietly and flipping through the books in his hands through the gaps between the bookcases. Opposite her was the person that the students often talked about these days, Yi Qian's brother. This was the 2nd time that she had seen the two of them reading quietly in the library. They kept a certain distance from each other as they did during the day. One of them sat on one side of the table, while the other sat on the other side of the table. They didn't say anything to each other. They read the books in their hands respectively, as if they didn't know each other. Thinking that they would go home after the exam tomorrow, Song Jiqiu thought for a while and walked toward them with the books in her hands. Before she got close, she stopped. The two of them kept a safe distance from each other. However, when she got close to them, she found that she couldn't bear to disturb them at all. The two of them looked surprisingly similar when they were reading. Occasionally, they looked up at each other. Their eyes were deep and there were faint feelings lingering in them. No one could get involved. This kind of gaze, this kind of rapport, he had seen several times on campus. There were several times when he wanted to walk over and greet them, but every time he got close, he would stop and walk away silently in the end. The silent distance was only what others could see on the surface. But in reality, what about the spiritual distance? They were very close, very close. They were so close that no one could step in. They even had to consider walking over to greet them. Was this her brother? No, they were lovers. He was 100% sure that Yi Qian and that handsome young soldier were lovers, not siblings. Yi Qian was in a relationship. No one would have guessed it. It's here. Take a look. Xia Jinyuan spun the book in his hand so that the words were facing Yi Qian. Look at this. It's an experiment from 1932. It mentions construction. The two of them were talking about an experiment topic today. Yi Qian was not sure whether he had done every step correctly, so he came over to check the information during the evening self-study session. Of course, Xia Jinyuan accompanied him. Song Jiqiu just stood there for a few seconds. The young soldier who had been talking to Yi Qian suddenly looked up. His eyes were like arrows pointing at the heart. At that moment, Song Jiqiu suddenly felt a sense of crisis and wanted to run away. Xia Jinyuan knew who he was. The coldness in his eyes gradually disappeared. He nodded slightly and smiled. Then he said to Yi Qian, "Is the student in your class looking for you?" Chapter 3184. A student in my class? Yi Qian turned his head and saw Song Jiqiu clearly. He stood up as if he had thought of something. "I'll talk to him. Help me check." Song Jiqiu, who wanted to leave, could not do so now. She stood there and watched Yi Qian walk to her with a smile in her eyes. "Are you going back to Nan Province this winter vacation?" "I'm sorry, but I can't go with you. I don't plan to go back to Nan Province this year. I'm going to another place." Since she had misunderstood, Yi Qian decided to play along. Song Jiqiu said with some regret, "We've been classmates for 4 years. I'm afraid there's no chance for us to go back to Nan province together." Next summer, Song Jiqiu would stay in school for duty. During the winter vacation, Yi Qian would stay in school for duty. When he was a junior or senior, he would have to leave the company. Naturally, there would be no chance for them to go back to Nan province together. After they talked for a while, Song Jiqiu left the library. She did not look back until she reached the door. "Your classmate is quite discerning. He should have seen through our relationship." Yi Qian sat down. Xia Jinyuan said with a smile, "He has a sense of propriety. Well, in fact, he can find out our relationship with a little bit of attention. However, he will only think about it in his heart. He won't really believe it. After all, you're my brother." Yi Qian opened the page that he had read just now calmly. He did not panic because of Xia Jinyuan's words. "Song Jiqiu is the younger brother of my senior in high school. You should have met him. Yang Heng, do you remember him? Because of Yang Heng, Yao Jing was involved in Sun Ying's matter. The whole high school was in an uproar. Because he believed in Yang Heng, he also believed in Song Jiqiu. In fact, Yi Jian did not lack boys around her. There were always a few good boys around her. Yang Heng was the one who left the deepest impression on Xia Jinyuan. This boy had gone through a lot with Yi Qian. Fortunately, Yang Heng appreciated Yi Qian and did not have any other intentions. He took care of Yi Qian like an elder brother. Yang Heng's parents had even wanted to adopt Yi Qian as their adopted daughter. He's his younger brother. He's a trustworthy person. Yes. Song Jiqiu has always been careful. It's normal for her to see through something. But I trust him." The steps. It was not a very important topic, so Yi Jianjian calmly changed the topic to the problem she had been trying to solve. Song. Even if Yi Jian was in a relationship, it would not affect her at all. The young soldier beside her was also a graduate of the same school and was also quite outstanding. When two equally outstanding people were together, no one would be a burden to the other. The drill masters were used to it. So were the students who knew about it. It was a holiday and they did not need to be on duty. They must have left school with their brother to recuperate at home. Song Jiqiu did not mention a word about it. She did not mention it to any of the students, including those who were closest to her. She kept the secret to herself. It was a rare sunny day when they arrived at the Snowfield Brigade. When Yi Qian got off the helicopter, she saw a neat camouflage formation not far ahead. They were her comrades in the Snowfield Brigade. The place where she was standing was the base of the Snowfield Brigade. Chapter 3185. This was a hidden base hidden in the depths of the mountains. There was no way out, and even entry and exit required the use of helicopters. All signals in the sky above the base were blocked. Even civil aircraft were prohibited from flying over here. They had to choose a detour. This was the base of China's strongest and most hidden sharp blade of the nation. The soldiers who could appear here were the top special forces in the entire army. Every one of them had extraordinary instincts, every one of them was brave and skilled in battle. Every one of them was a soldier worthy of everyone's respect. At the same time, this was also her goal. She had worked hard for several years, just so that one day she could reach here and become one of them. However, it was not easy to become one of them. She had fought alongside her comrades in the Snowfield Brigade many times. Until now, she was only a reserve member. She belonged to the category of reserve members who would be immediately expelled if she made a mistake and would need to be re-evaluated. The helicopter did not land at all. It circled in the air a few times before flying away with a rumbling sound, leaving behind the fog and snow. The snow in the mountains was much deeper than outside. Yi Qian, who was descending vertically from the helicopter, stepped on the ground. The snow was knee-deep. Every step he took required him to pull his feet out of the snow. Otherwise, he would not be able to walk. "Do you want me to give you a hand?" Han Zheng asked enthusiastically. At the same time, he stretched out his hand. As soon as he stretched out his arm, he was hit by a palm. Then Wu Yu, whose face was flushed, smiled coldly and said, "Brother, the main character is following behind. You move to the side. Don't get in the way." Wu Yu, who had returned yesterday, had solved an important matter in his life and successfully met up with Jiasin at school. At the same time, he had successfully confirmed their relationship. The price he paid was that he was beaten up ruthlessly by Jiasin. Wu Yu was in a good mood after beating up. In the end, he was afraid that his girlfriend's hand would hurt, so he took the beating and said, "Save your strength. Don't hit me too hard in one go. Don't hurt yourself. Let's beat him up separately." And Jiasin, who was still showing her manly side, was coaxed by these words that were not sweet nothings but could make her happy. She immediately stopped and said reservedly, "Since you said so, then fine. I'll record today's debt. I'll beat him up again when I recover my strength." Without a teacher, Wu Yu, who knew how to dote on his girlfriend, immediately agreed without saying anything more. Thus, he coaxed Jiasin, who was a manly girl, even happier. Thus, in the next few days, Wu Yu's life was very comfortable, better than that of an immortal. Now that she had a taste of love, she couldn't help but become a spiritual teacher. She lectured Han Zheng righteously, "You can't do this. How can you touch Yi Qian? She already has a boyfriend. Even if she can't pull her leg out, it's not up to you to help her. With Captain Xia around, he will take good care of his girlfriend." After saying that, he ignored Han Zheng's dark expression and smiled at Yi Qian. "Am I right?" "Very right." Yi Qian nodded approvingly. Then he added, "In the army, I don't have a boyfriend. I only have a captain. So, please treat everyone equally. Forget that I still have a boyfriend." He reminded his comrades that these were not the days they were living outside. They were all soldiers with high ideological awareness. Yi Qian's reminder immediately made them react. Very quickly, their casual smiles disappeared, and their gazes narrowed slightly. Chapter 3186. There were not many combat personnel in the Snowfield Brigade. Only 2 teams were assigned to carry out high-risk missions, while the rest of the selected soldiers had yet to graduate. After several rounds of selection, they still had to go through the most brutal training before they could carry out high-risk missions. Only by wearing the Snowfield Brigade's armband on their arms could they be considered real Special Forces soldiers of the Snowfield Brigade. Yi Qian, who was walking over in the deep snow, was at least 20 meters away from the Special Forces soldiers, who were already standing in formation in the snow. A strong murderous aura washed over him. Although this murderous aura did not have a physical form, it felt substantial. With every step he took, it was as if there was an invisible barrier blocking his path. He needed to have the aura of a mountain before he could take the next step. Their gazes were extremely heavy, like the mountains and seas, deep and distant. When he focused his gaze, there was an aura of desperation in front of him. Yi Qian, who was walking towards them, had already straightened his back very, very straight. Every step he took was very, very steady. Facing their murderous aura, Yi Qian did not let Xia Jinyuan accompany him. He just walked straight into the world of these mysterious ace Special Forces soldiers. She had to walk towards them on her own. She could not rely on anyone's help, nor did she need any encouragement. What she needed was to overcome all the difficulties that prevented her from joining this top-notch individual combat team until she got close to them. Why do I feel like they're trying to show Qing Niao who's boss? Captain, should we go and talk to them? It's her first day, so there's no need to be so harsh, right? T6 combatant Wu Yu said in a low voice. His tone was filled with concern for Yi Qian. It was Yi Qian's first time back, and the team was already in such a state. Would it leave a bad impression on Yi Qian? If it left a bad impression, what if Yi Qian got unhappy and just left? G3 combatant Yin Rong also felt that this show of strength was a little inappropriate. Just as T6 combatant had said, since it was Qing Niao's first day at the base, they should at least let her see the friendliness of the base, even if they did not hold a grand welcoming ceremony. Now, these people who had stayed behind were all like mountains. The murderous aura they had been suppressing was all exposed. This show of strength was not friendly at all. Let's talk about it. These people are a little too much. V8 was also a little annoyed. They had fought alongside Yi Qian several times and already regarded Yi Qian as their comrade. In their hearts, Yi Qian and their comrades in the line in front of them, they were equally matched. 2. Pigeon, Blood Eagle, White Crane, and the others had fought alongside Yi Jian before. They couldn't possibly give Yi Jian, who had just arrived, a show of strength. Someone had ordered them to give Yi Qian a show of strength on the first day. From the moment she got off the helicopter and entered the Snowfield Brigade's aviation field, she was no longer Yi Qian. She's also no longer the Qing Niao we know. Here, she's just a new recruit who has to start from scratch. Put away your pity for her. Here, she doesn't need pity. She needs iron skills. What is pity? Pity is nothing. From today onwards, remember this. She's here to learn how to become a real Snowfield Brigade Special Forces soldier from the Snowfield Brigade. Your pity is not to protect her, but to strangle her. Chapter 3187. Xia Jinyuan, who came down from the helicopter, spoke. The moment he spoke, his words were cold and heartless, without a hint of warmth. This was the captain of the Snowfield Brigade. He was cold-blooded, impartial, and highly capable. He was deeply loved and respected by his comrades. His words were like melted water on a snowy mountain, emitting a bone-piercing chill that flowed into the hearts of his comrades, causing Wu Yu and the others to shudder violently. That's right, Yi Qian was no longer Yi Qian here, and Qing Niao was no longer Qing Niao. She was just a recruit who had to start over. G3, when the time comes, bring her to the recruit company and give her a week's time to defeat 30 recruits. If she can't defeat 30 recruits in a week's time, immediately report to the Major General and revoke her status as a reserve member. Xia Jinyuan, who had already switched identities, gave the order. G3 immediately puffed out his chest and said in a low voice, "Yes, sir." Here, Xia Jinyuan was no longer the Xia Jinyuan from the outside world. Here, no one had a name or a surname, only a code name. A code name that represented one's identity and could also erase one's identity. After the order was given, the comrades who only had code names looked at their captain in surprise. Within a week, defeating 30 recruits, this was even more ruthless than a show of strength. What was even more ruthless was that if Qing Niao's status as a reserve team member was revoked without defeating the recruits, it would be equivalent to Qing Niao being useless no matter how many achievements she had. With such ruthlessness, wasn't he afraid that Qing Niao would really throw up her sleeves and quit? Even G3, who had received the order, felt a little uneasy. The Snowfield Brigade was the top and most secretive special ace combat team in the country. Here, they had their own set of rules. The rules of the Ace Corps in the outside world were not as strict as the Snowfield Brigades. He was no longer the Xia Jinyuan they could joke around with outside. When he entered work mode, Xia Jinyuan was their king, and a king's dignity could not be challenged. His girlfriend, Yi Qian, was out of the question. Xia Jinyuan walked in front of G3 and the others, then stopped and looked at the figure walking towards his comrades with a deep gaze. Yi Qian, from today onwards, you are a recruit of the Snowfield Brigade. Today, you will enter the Snowfield Brigade and see clearly what the special base is like under the mysterious veil. Here, even training involved sacrifices. You've already put in a lot of effort to get to this base. You've already endured a lot of pain that ordinary people can't bear. Today, you've finally fulfilled the promise you made to me. One day, I'll become the person you are today. Yi Qian, today you have indeed become the old me. Xia Jinyuan, who was standing in the snow-capped mountains, watched as his beloved girl fearlessly walked forward. From the initial heavy steps to the current light and brisk steps, she was like a flying eagle. Even if there was a bottomless abyss in front of her, she still fearlessly swooped down. This finally made him smile. From the beginning until now, his lover had never let anyone down. From the beginning until now, her original intentions had never changed. The T6 combatant and the others laughed. No matter how big the opening gambit was or how unfriendly it was, the Qing Niao they knew had always been someone who was not afraid of trouble. No matter where she went, she would be able to instantly adapt and take root. It was not impossible to defeat 30 recruits in a week. Qing Niao had the ability to do something that seemed impossible. Qing Niao, where are the powerful female soldiers? The 30 recruits of the new recruit company you. Ha! Get ready to receive the attack. The powerful female soldiers will show you what it means to be strong. At this moment, the T6 combatant and the others still did not know how big the opening gambit would be, so they could still laugh for the time being. Chapter 3188. V8 and the others had gone from their initial worry to their current anticipation. Yi Qian walked on fearlessly in exchange for her comrades' peace of mind. They waited patiently for the final result. They believed that the final result wouldn't disappoint them. Walking in the snow, Yi Qian couldn't clearly see what the Shuiyu base looked like in the depths of the snowy mountains, but she could feel the murderous aura of the Special Forces soldiers standing in a straight line. She didn't know why, but she wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she felt her blood boiling. As she walked faster and faster, her soul seemed to break free from the shackles, breaking free from the iron chains that bound her and made her blood boil. She liked it here. She liked to get along with this group of Special Forces soldiers who were full of murderous aura. They were all her targets, targets that she wanted to defeat. Only by defeating them could she walk to Captain Xia's side and finally stand side by side with him. The dopamine in her brain became more and more concentrated as she walked faster. Her entire cerebral cortex was abnormally excited. In the end, she realized that walking wasn't enough to satisfy her, so she decided to just run in the thick snow. How could one really run happily in such a thick snow? But Yi Qian ran. She ran until the snow was kicked up by her, stirring up a thin layer of snow. Xia Jinyuan wanted to laugh out loud when he saw this, but he restrained himself. Qing Niao flew like a phoenix soaring. His little fox wasn't an ordinary female soldier. How could his little fox be intimidated by a small display of strength? She liked to challenge all kinds of difficulties, so she would only get more excited when faced with difficulties. Just like the first time they fought side by side, he saw an inextinguishable fire in that skinny little girl's eyes. It was this inextinguishable fire that supported Little Fox all the way to where she was now. It was indeed very difficult to defeat 30 recruits in a week. It might even be impossible. He thought about it again and again while accompanying her for a few days. After careful consideration, he finally gave this order. It was for no other reason than to let the veterans in Pigeon's unit know of Qing Niao's abilities and let them accept Qing Niao's existence in advance. It could be considered as establishing and accumulating strength. The male soldier who welcomed the only female soldier in the team had been waiting for a long time. Calculating the time, they had been standing in the snow for at least an hour. When they heard the sound of a helicopter coming from midair, they didn't need to raise their heads to know that the helicopter carrying the female soldiers had arrived. The cabin door was pushed open, and a figure who was much smaller than the male soldiers completed the first jump. Her movements were clean and neat, and there was a sense of awe-inspiring vigor. The laymen were there to watch the show, while the professionals were there to see the artistry. Just this one movement had surprised them. What perfect jumping movement! How was he a military academy student? He was clearly a veteran. When he came down, he saw her walking normally first, then walking faster and faster. In the end, she started running. The slender figure running made them realize that the captain's so-called show of strength had no effect on her at all. Instead, it somehow stimulated her. Her adrenaline surged, and the concentration of the neurotransmitter dopamine soared. She turned from walking to running. Looking at the running figure, the special forces who had been standing still for 2 hours began to discuss. How is it? I told you that our new female soldier is different. Do you see that? Look at that posture. So awesome. You still don't believe us? We have completed several missions with her. We have the most right to say whether she is awesome or not. Do you believe us now? Brothers, you should be more careful. Later on, we won't be the ones hitting her. It is very likely that she will hit us. Chapter 3189. It's coming, it's coming. Get ready, the show of strength is about to begin. A Special Forces soldier, who had never interacted with Yi Qian and only knew her name, rubbed his fist. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he waited for Yi Qian to come. He wanted to see how strong his future comrade was. If we beat her until she runs away and never comes back to our team again, you guys can't blame us. Pfft, how can Qing Niao be defeated so easily? Just you wait, kid. Don't get beaten up by Qing Niao until you cry, K7 replied coldly. His eyes were filled with joy at Yi Qian's arrival. It was great that they could finally see Yi Qian in the base. I won't cry, but I'm worried that the female soldier we waited so long for will run away after we beat her. Everyone will regret it so much that their intestines turn green. We can't help it, we didn't want to. We weren't the ones who wanted to show strength to the female soldier, it was the captain. If we want to settle the score, we have to settle it with the captain. It's good to test the female soldier. If she runs away because of our show of strength, it's better that she doesn't come here. With her current skills, she can definitely join the special forces in the military region. The chances of her being sacrificed will be much lower. It's understandable that the captain wants us to do this. However, even if we can understand, we still have to see if the new female soldier will understand. If she can understand, then she will understand the captain's good intentions. If she can't understand, then it's better for her to leave early so that in the future. So that in the future what? So that in the future she won't be sacrificed because she isn't strong enough. The Special Forces soldiers who were waiting for Yi Qian all understood Xia Jingyuan's intentions in this way. As for Xia Jingyuan's real intentions, only he himself knew. The surrounding comrades discussed softly, and those who were familiar with Yi Qian fell silent. If that was really the case, they hoped that Qing Niao could understand the captain's painstaking efforts. They knew that Yi Qian would one day become a real Special Forces soldier of the Snowfield Brigade, so they had been waiting for her arrival. However, they didn't expect that when she arrived, what awaited her was not applause, but one show of strength after another. The figure got closer and closer. When she was 3 meters away from the formation, the Special Forces soldiers who were standing like pine trees suddenly spread out and quickly surrounded Yi Qian. F***CK, what are they trying to do? Z7 Han Zheng was shocked and he immediately asked Xia Jinyuan, Captain, what order? These guys are murderous intent, do they want to fight? Wu Yu had already started rolling up his sleeve. Fight? To bully our Qing Niao? How? Captain, aren't you afraid that green bird will fling her sleeves and quit? Even Yin Rong, who was usually calm and didn't like to speak, couldn't help but ask. It would have been fine if they had shown their strength during the formation, but they could also explain that they had run too much in the midst of gunfire and were stained with blood. Unknowingly, they would reveal their killing intent. It was a fight. This was obviously a fucking fight with Yi Qian. Xia Jinyuan slowly put on his combat gloves and said calmly, "It's been a long time since I've seen a group fight. Let's go take a look." A group fight? You mean, a group of people are surrounding and attacking Qing Niao? V8 stared at him in shock. "Captain, did you and Qing Niao quarrel in school over the past few days? Did Qing Niao give you a hard time? So you're using your position to take revenge for a personal grudge?" V8 did not dare to say this out loud. He could only grumble in his heart. At this point, T6 completely understood that this fucking fight was also an order from his captain. Chapter 3190. Ruthless. How ruthless! How ruthless! Wasn't he afraid of being so ruthless that he wouldn't have a girlfriend? Even if he didn't say it out loud, Xia Jinyuan could guess it. He looked at his comrades who were already carrying out his orders and said calmly, "It's not that easy to get into the Snowfield Brigade's base. You'll have to have some ability to get in. Qing Niao is already very capable. What else do you want?" The T6 combatant was on Yi Qian's side. Feeling a little annoyed, he questioned him directly, "You're making things difficult for her." "Making things difficult? Which eye of yours saw me making things difficult for her? Do I have to make things difficult for her?" The T6 combatant gritted his teeth and said, "I saw you making things difficult for her with both of my eyes. Q King, you can't do this. More than 20 of our brothers are ganging up on Qing Niao. Even if she has 3 heads and 6 arms, it'll still be difficult for her to win. Fair? Is there a need for fairness in a group fight? Have you ever seen a fair group fight?" Xia Jinyuan, whose decision was being questioned, did not get angry. They did not understand his deeper meaning, and he did not need them to understand his intentions at the moment. He just did not know if someone as smart as Qing Niao would be able to understand his intentions. "I'll apply to join her camp. There's no fairness in a group fight, so it should be fine to have outside help, right? What are you still standing there for? Let's go. Are you going to stand here and watch Qing Niao get taken advantage of?" V8 combatant Yang Shulin pushed the angry Wu Yu away and ran off with his luggage. When G3 combatant Yin Rong and Z7 combatant Han Zheng saw that Xia Jinyuan did not object to having outside help, they threw their luggage into the snow and ran several meters away. Only Xia Jinyuan, who should be the most concerned about Yi Qian, walked steadily step by step. A group fight of 20 against 1 was indeed unfair, but there was nothing wrong with having outside help. It was feasible to get these brothers, who were very close to Qing Niao, to provide support, and their performance did not disappoint him. Even if they had to contradict him as their leader, they still had to go and support Qing Niao. Not bad. Qing Niao, who had just arrived, already had a good start. She was much luckier than before. So far, no one had guessed Xia Jinyuan's intentions and had no idea what he was up to. When Yi Qian saw the group of young soldiers suddenly surrounding her with murderous intent, she reacted quickly and took off her thick coat. They were still running. She folded the coat and placed it gently in the snow. Then, she began to unbuckle her belt. In a fight, she needed tools in her hand. Tools were the best helpers. With tools in hand, she would be more confident. Yi Qian took off her clothes and unbuckled her belt. She wore a tight-fitting sweater, camouflage trousers, and thick military boots as she stood in the middle of the encirclement. Her dark eyes stared intently at the group of Special Forces soldiers who exuded a murderous aura. She clenched her fists and tightened her belt, entering into a state of unarmed combat. She had already scanned the Special Forces soldiers surrounding her. There were many familiar faces among them, such as K7. Although he also exuded a murderous aura, there was a slight smile in his eyes as he welcomed her arrival. Seeing the smile in K7's eyes, Yi Qian calmed down a little. She even smiled back at him as a form of greeting. She scanned her surroundings again and saw pigeons, cranes, eagles, sparrowhawks. These were all her comrades who had fought alongside her in the past. They were all familiar faces. Now they had all surrounded her. Their expressions were cold, and their auras were fierce. The Special Forces soldiers surrounding Yi Qian were all official members of the Snowfield Brigade. They were not reserve recruits, so there were not enough of them. There was also a small team that had gone out on a mission and had yet to return. Chapter 3191. Yi Qian counted and saw that there were a total of 20 team members surrounding him. This scene was truly a new experience. Captain Xia did not tell him about this before he came. It seemed like he had done it on purpose. He wanted him to make her remember her first day at the Snowfield Brigade's base unforgettable. What was there to be afraid of? You want a group fight, right? Come, count me in. Outside, Z7 came over with a cold voice. Before the fight started, he rushed to Yi Qian's side with G3 and glared at his comrades surrounding them. Captain said that we can have outside help in a group fight. I'm in the same camp as Qin Niao, so let's warm up. Following that, T6 and V8 also rushed to Yi Qian's side. Qin Niao, don't be afraid, we'll accompany you, T6 said in a low voice. Just fight as hard as you can. It doesn't matter if you're injured or crippled. Just fight as hard as you can and don't show mercy. King Q gave the military order, so they won't show mercy. You don't have to worry. Sure enough, it was Captain Xia's order. He had told him a long time ago that if he stepped into the Snowfield Brigade's base one day and became a member of the Snowfield Brigade, he would not be her boyfriend but her soldier. There would be no difference in treatment, so he had to be mentally prepared. What he said a long time ago still counted. It was in line with Captain Xia's code of conduct. Hearing T6's advice, Yi Qian smiled and said, "Okay, I'll remember that. They should be fighting in groups of 5. The 5 of us will also be in a group. Let's see if we can fight to the end." "Don't worry, we'll definitely fight to the end," G3 answered Yi Qian. In the midst of the confrontation, a cold and sharp voice pierced through the air. "Are you guys going to keep chatting? What are you still standing there for?" It was King Q, Xia Jinyuan's voice. It was so cold and sharp that it made people's hearts clench. His imposing manner made the surrounding Special Forces soldiers move quickly and neatly to make a path for their captain so that he could see Yi Qian, who was surrounded in the middle. Yi Qian looked at Xia Jinyuan calmly. Xia Jinyuan looked at her, a complicated light flickering in his dark eyes. Then, he asked Yi Qian, "Do you feel scared? Have you ever thought of quitting?" Originally, he wanted to talk to her after the fight, but who would have thought that? They would actually make way for him, which made him a little flustered. The T6 combatant was right. There was no fairness in a 1 versus 20 group battle. It was precisely because he knew that it was unfair that he didn't tell her. He was afraid that he wouldn't know how to face her if he told her. He didn't dare to face it, so he decided to avoid it altogether. In the end, as soon as he opened his mouth, these guys directly asked him to come face to face with her. They almost made him turn around and leave. Fortunately, he restrained himself from running away and met her calm gaze, allowing the panic in his heart to slowly calm down as he opened his mouth. Yi Qian met his gaze but didn't answer immediately. She just quietly looked into his dark eyes, trying to see through his dark and unfathomable eyes. His usually dark eyes were a little complicated today, as if he had something to say to her, but he held it back. Was he trying to tell her why he had arranged this group fight? After a while, Yi Qian shook her head and smiled as she replied, "I'm not scared. I never thought of leaving since I came here." To be honest, she didn't believe that they could really cripple her. At most, they would injure her, or at worst, break her bones. Her answer made Xia Jinyuan heave a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. They didn't scare her away and didn't make her think of quitting. Chapter 3192. Then let's start the 10-minute rotation. Xia Jinyuan nodded slightly and gestured for his comrades to surround Yi Qian again. When Yi Qian was surrounded again, Xia Jinyuan, who was standing outside, let out a long sigh of relief and quietly spread out his tightly clenched fist. The temperature was -10 degrees Celsius, and his palms were sweaty from the brief exchange of glances with Yi Qian. The rotation began. Fist against fist, leg against leg, and all of it was close combat. Yi Qian was the main target of the special forces. A male soldier who had never fought Yi Qian before threw a fist straight at Yi Qian's face. Just as the T6 combatant had said, they were all serious and not playing tricks. The fist came at him with a strong gust of wind. Yi Qian quickly dodged it and threw a straight right punch at his opponent's head. Her punches were very fast and powerful. Her punches were like hammers swinging out. As long as her fist connected, the bridge of his nose would probably be broken. The male soldier immediately defended himself. Before he could attack, Yi Qian pulled back his right fist and clasped his fingers together on his right hand. He used his fingertips to stab at his opponent's throat. This was the throat grab technique in combat, the most commonly used move in close combat. You do have some skills. The male soldier single-handedly grabbed Yi Qian's right hand that was grabbing his throat and pulled it tight. At the same time, he raised his long leg and kicked at Yi Qian's chest. If this kick connected, Yi Qian would break at least one of his ribs. Outside, Xia Jinyuan, who was standing on high ground, tensed up when he saw this. Fuck, when these guys start fighting, it's always a fierce battle. They won't hold back at all. Qing Miao, you have to hold on. Don't hold back. Fortunately, Qing Miao managed to dodge it. If the Snowfield Brigade's Special Forces soldiers were paying attention at this moment, they would realize that their captain, who was staring at the scene, was even more nervous than when he was fighting himself. He was clenching his jaw so hard that the veins on his forehead were popping out. Yi Jian dodged his kick and turned her body sideways. The two of them were caught in a tug-of-war, one on the left and the other on the right. She pulled and used her left hand again. Her left hand was faster than her right hand. Almost in a second, she reached for his throat again. This move really gave the male soldier a fright. What a fast movement! He hurriedly let go of her right hand and dodged to the side rather pathetically to avoid Yi Qian's fingertips stabbing at his throat. But this time, he wasn't as agile as before and wasn't able to immediately grab Yi Qian's left hand. He dodged Yi Qian's attack but didn't manage to dodge Yi Qian's left kick. Yi Qian, whose blood was boiling, used extreme force to hit the male soldier's chest with her elbow and raised her left foot to hit the male soldier's diaphragm in the abdomen with the tip of her left foot. After using these two moves consecutively, the male soldier, who was careless, lost twice in a row and was quickly knocked to the ground by Yi Qian. Captain Xia had once taught her that the left fist was a bluff, and the right hand was the real attack. But she wasn't. After testing, her left fist was 4.6 seconds faster than her right fist. This meant that while other people's left fist was a bluff, her right fist was actually a bluff. The male soldier was kicked out and bumped into two other Special Forces soldiers. Fortunately, he didn't fall because he bumped into them. Ha 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 ha, you were careless. They already said that Qing Miao was good. Did you really think they were joking? The two Special Forces soldiers who were bumped into pulled their comrade up. Seeing their comrade get kicked, their expressions were filled with schadenfreude. Ha ha ha, who asked him to be so smug and couldn't wait to show off? He deserved to be kicked. Chapter 3193. The male soldier who was teased mercilessly by his comrade clutched his abdomen in pain and said to his comrade, "No, I wasn't joking just now. I used all my strength the moment I went up. Qing Miao is very strong. Also, be careful of her left hand. Her left hand is faster than her right hand. I'm at a disadvantage here." Qing Miao is left-handed? She's not like a left-hander. Her right hand is also very agile. She's different from the average left-hander. The male soldier who was kicked over was also out of the game. After rubbing his abdomen and chest, he waved his hand and walked out. You guys go up. Take turns for 10 minutes. Only 3 minutes have passed. The rest is up to you guys. F***ck, it really hurts. She was indeed ruthless. She used all her strength to kick him, and it felt like his intestines had been kicked out. No wonder those comrades who had worked with Qing Niao before would come back and say how powerful Qing Niao was. Male soldiers couldn't gain any advantage against her, and sometimes they were even worse than her. He really believed it this time. Such a powerful female soldier should be in their team. The battle of attrition had already trampled the pure white snow into mud. Yi Qian was fighting with a group of Special Forces soldiers for the first time. It was as if she had gone crazy. She hooked her left hand around the male soldier's neck and pulled him down fiercely. At the same time, she raised her knee and aimed it at the male soldier's heart. That kind of ruthlessness made the male soldier's heart tremble. He quickly covered his chest with his hands and blocked Yi Jian's knee that was about to hit him. Then, he hugged Yi Jian's waist and tightened his grip. He was so tight that Yi Jian's breathing became sluggish, and she lost all her strength. The world spun around her. The male soldier hugged her waist and threw her into the snow. The moment Yi Qian fell, her calves clamped around the male soldier's neck. The battle situation suddenly changed dramatically. When she fell into the snow, the male soldier was also clamped by her legs and fell into the snow. No one took the opportunity to kick the male soldier when he fell into the snow. Yi Qian was different. In attrition warfare, the enemy outnumbered her. When she fell into the snow, not only did no one help her up, a few long legs were already kicking her. Qing Niao, be careful! V8 roared and threw one of his comrades over his shoulder. He immediately rushed over to support Yi Qian, but the other Special Forces soldiers did not give V8 a chance. They blocked his path and punched him. With his path blocked, V8's face darkened as he looked at his real comrades. Yi Qian did not have time to get up. She could only roll on the ground like a snowball, avoiding the kicks of several long legs. V8, who had been forced to the point where she could not get up after several unsuccessful attempts, cursed, "Motherf***, you'll get it later. I'll teach you a lesson later on." The comrade who was scolded pretended not to hear it. They themselves also felt that they were quite deserving of a scolding. Ganging up to bully a female soldier, what kind of men are they? But the captain had said that if he saw them skimping, not only would they be punished, but Qing Niao would also be punished. If the captain wanted to be ruthless, how could they not be ruthless? Yi Qian, who was covered in snow and mud, did not roll for long. When a long leg came for her chest, the belt in her hand wrapped around the other party's ankle like a snake. The male soldier with the blanket wrapped around his ankle knew that things had gone south. He looked at the female soldier who was rolling in the snow and a cold light flashed in his dark eyes. His snow-stained hands tightened the belt around the male soldier's ankle so that he could not withdraw his leg immediately. Chapter 3194. When the other soldier saw this, he lifted his leg and aimed it at Yi Qian's shoulder. This kick was fast and fierce. No matter how fast Yi Qian dodged, the thick military boots still hit her shoulder, causing her entire shoulder to feel a sharp pain. Even though Yi Qian was in so much pain that her face turned pale, she did not loosen her grip on the belt. As she dodged, the soldier with the belt around his ankle lost his balance and was dragged into the snow by Yi Qian. Yi Qian did not let him off just like that. She leaned to one side, grabbed the soldier's calf with both hands, and flipped him over. "Heroine, please show mercy. This is not a real fight, not a real fight." Her action was equivalent to breaking the soldier's calf. The other two soldiers who wanted to kick her were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. They immediately retracted their long legs and shouted at the female soldier to stop her. "Oh my God, she's really ruthless." That viciousness was truly comparable to theirs. Yi Qian got up. Her body, face, and even hair were covered in snow. She looked at the soldier coldly, then the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. She asked with a faint smile, "Do you want to continue?" "No, no, I'm sorry for offending you." See you. Oh my God, even her eyes were filled with killing intent. Qing Niao really lived up to her reputation. Outside, a few Special Forces soldiers, including Pigeon, who had been eliminated, stood in front of Xia Jinyuan. They saw the female soldier Qing Niao being knocked to the ground. They saw her rolling and dodging in the snow. Her unyielding attitude was like the waves in the sea hitting the reef. Even if the sun and moon had changed, she would still be proud. "Captain, that's enough. Our original intention was not to fight with her, but to sincerely welcome her." Pigeon couldn't bear to watch any longer. She softly advised, "She's already very impressive that a few of us couldn't defeat Qing Niao. If this continues, I'm afraid something bad will happen." Xia Jinyuan lowered his head and looked at the timer. There were still 3 minutes to the end of the 10-minute battle. Qing Niao had knocked down 4 soldiers, but she had also been knocked down 4 times. When she was knocked down on the 5th round, she used her belt to knock down a soldier. The battle was still tied. 3 minutes to the end. After 3 minutes, let Eagle fight Qing Niao alone. Xia Jinyuan, who was handsome and indifferent, was not moved. He even ordered his subordinates to send a special soldier to fight Qing Niao alone after the tiring battle. When he gave the order, Pigeon's expression changed. The other soldiers' expressions also changed. He actually let Eagle fight. "Captain, you don't really want to scare the female soldiers away from the base, do you?" The pigeon opened its mouth and wanted to say something. But before it could say anything, Xia Jinyuan looked at it indifferently and said, "Do you need me to repeat it?" "No need. I'll be right there." Pigeon's expression became serious. She stood with her legs together and her chest puffed out. Military orders had to be obeyed. After Pigeon left, Xia Jinyuan asked his comrades, "Look at Qing Niao's battle. If one of you were to fight her alone, would you be able to defeat her? I want to hear the truth. This is a test for Qing Niao. The results have to be reported to the military for her to become an official member in the future." The soldier who was kicked by Yi Qian was still clutching his stomach. He smiled bitterly and said, "Captain, you're making fun of us. With Qing Niao's skills, it would be difficult for me to win if I were to fight her alone. I can only try my best to fight her to a draw. Qing Niao's skills are above average. It would be difficult to win if I were to fight her alone. Plus, her hands are very agile, her attacks are fast and fierce, and she has enough strength. I'm not confident that I can win against her. I might lose." This was the truth from another soldier. Chapter 3195. The Special Forces soldiers who were knocked out by Yi Qian all thought it would be very difficult for them to win. They were only eliminated because they were knocked out by her, so how could they dare to say they could definitely beat her? They could only try their best to beat her. Xia Jinyuan then looked at the other comrades who were knocked out by T6, G3, V8, and Z7. He asked, "What about the rest of you? What do you think?" "I don't have any opinions. If I had to say something, I can only say that hearing about her is better than meeting her in person. It was only after meeting her that I realized what my comrades who fought with Qing Niao said was true. She's indeed very skilled. I agree. She's even more amazing than I imagined." "Me too. I really didn't expect a female soldier to fight with a group of male soldiers. She fought until the male soldiers couldn't get close to her for a while, and even knocked out several of them. I'll see you again after being in the military for a few years." Although they had not fought against Yi Qian, their words were already filled with admiration. When Xia Jinyuan saw this, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Qing Niao would never let anyone look down on her. Wherever she was, she would always leave behind a story that would surprise and make people admire her. 10 minutes had passed. With the sharp sound of a whistle, the tag team battle ended. The anger in T6's heart had yet to dissipate. When he saw his comrade immediately let go of his grip when he heard the whistle, he was so angry that he raised his leg and kicked his comrade in the buttock. He growled, "Fuck you." The Special Forces soldier who let go of his grip was not prepared for T6's sneaky trick behind his back. He was kicked so hard that he fell forward and landed in the muddy snow. After getting up, he retreated to T6's side and said through gritted teeth, "Damn, if you're so capable, just kick the captain. Why are you taking it out on me? Do you think we'd dare to do that without the captain's orders? Qing Niao is a female soldier. We can't even wait to give way to her. How could we possibly give her such a hard time on her first day?" T6 smiled coldly and answered his comrade, "I only kicked you because I didn't have the guts to kick the captain. You're honest. I have nothing to say. You'd better not say anything. If you do, I'll punch you again." T6 waved his fist and glared at his comrade before running to Yi Qian's side. At this time, Yi Jian was not as clean as she was when she got off the helicopter. Her body was covered in snow, and so was her face. Her fair and beautiful face was also covered in dirt. Only her eyes were the cleanest. When the T6 combatant saw this, he gritted his teeth and said, "I shouldn't have kicked him too hard just now. It's useless to kick him. I feel like he still has more moves to use." He reminded Yi Qing Niao. There was nothing for her to be afraid of. If they wanted to fight, she would fight to her heart's content. Steam was coming out of her hair because of the hot sweat. She panted and said to her 4 comrades who were protecting her, "If there's anything, I'll take it. There's nothing to be afraid of. The 4 of you make way. It's not a group challenge." Pigeon walked over and instructed her 4 comrades who were still surrounding Yi Qian, "Stop dawdling. The sooner we finish this, the sooner we can let Qing Niao go back to the dormitory and change into clean clothes. You guys don't want her to get sick from the cold, right?" Hearing that, T6 and the others left reluctantly. Before they left, they even said to Yi Qian, "Don't be afraid, we'll keep an eye on you. If anyone dares to move, we'll beat them up." When they said that, the 4 people who had left all glared at Pigeon. Chapter 3196. Pigeon expressed his innocence. This was his brother, so he didn't want things to turn out this way either. Someone walked out. The tall man was wearing a thin camouflage suit. His facial features were resolute and his skin was dark. He stared coldly at Yi Qian and said, "Come, let's have a one-on-one spar." So it was a one-on-one duel. Yi Qian, who had not yet calmed down, smiled. "All right." Yi Qian, who had not even seen the Snowfield Brigade's base, was the first to be challenged in a group duel, followed by a one-on-one duel. T6, who had stepped away, saw clearly that Yi Qian's comrade in a one-on-one duel was a famous wrestler in the brigade. His mouth twitched fiercely. This guy was from Mongolia and was a brave soldier. Just his tower-like body alone could drive a tank into a car. He was strong, skilled, and agile. It was fun to fight with him, but it was just hard to fight him. Eagle, that guy, he's really shameless to challenge Qing Niao to a one-on-one duel. He's several times bigger than Qing Niao, T6 muttered softly. Since he could not do anything to help, he could only watch helplessly. "Don't worry, Eagle can't beat Captain, and Captain said before that Qing Niao's skills are not to be underestimated. Even he has suffered at the hands of Qing Niao before, so Eagle might not be able to beat Qing Niao." V8 said softly, "Now that the group duel is over, Qing Niao just needs to defeat Eagle, and the rest will be easy to handle. I wonder how many one-on-one duels have been arranged. Qing Niao might be able to handle 2 one-on-one duels, but I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult to handle more than that. It depends on who's arranged. Eagle can handle 2 people by himself. If you get punched by him, your bones will probably crack. Captain's arrangement is really a little ruthless. After the group duels, he doesn't even have time to rest before immediately going for a one-on-one duel. I'm worried that Qing Niao will run away and then do something with him. Wouldn't that be terrible? That won't happen. Qing Niao gets stronger when faced with a strong opponent. She won't be separated from Captain easily. Qing Niao was not afraid at all. Look at her eyes. They were so bright that they seemed to be burning a fire inside. Let's wait and see. Even Captain is not anxious. Let's not be anxious. He will have his own arrangement. V8 saw that T6 was so worried about Yi Qian. After comforting him, he sized him up with a strange look in his eyes. Are you on good terms with your girlfriend? What do you mean it's all right? We've just confirmed our relationship, so of course it's good. The T6 combatant glared at him. Don't spout nonsense, do you hear me? Then why do you always care about Qing Niao? Look at me, I know Qing Niao as well, but I'm not as worried as you are. My girlfriend was Qing Niao's junior high school classmate and high school classmate. The two of them were so close that they could wear the same pant. It's all thanks to Qing Niao that my girlfriend and I can be together. How can I not care about her? F***ck. With this relationship, I'll get Qing Niao to introduce a girlfriend to me later. No, my girlfriend is my best friend with Qing Niao. You don't have a chance. V8 reacted quickly and said with a smile, Then I can get your girlfriend to introduce her classmate to me. We're not talking about finding a girlfriend for you now. We're talking about fighting. Eagle is so F***king shameless. He even attacked first. Qing Niao beat him up. T6, who had been watching the confrontation between the two sides, was still talking about personal matters a second ago. But the next second, he changed the topic. He stared at Eagle, who had attacked first, with a dark look in his eyes. He wished he could rush up and beat him up. V8 did not say anything else. When he saw Eagle coming up with a chokehold, he also cursed. F***ck, are you bullying Qing Niao because she's not as tall as him? Beat him up, Qing Niao. He definitely had to beat him up. The big guy's sudden sneak attack made Yi Qian realize that although the Special Forces soldier in front of him was the biggest, he was very agile. His methods were wild and deadly. Chapter 3197. A direct chokehold, not giving the other party a chance to live. But that was how close-range combat worked. Every move was a killer move. Killing the opponent in one move was also a form of protection for oneself. Yi Qian dodged a condor's sneak attack. Xia Jinyuan, who was watching from outside, felt his heart settle down. De Condor was the most stubborn and experienced soldier in the entire team. He rarely went out on missions and was usually in charge of the team's training. Therefore, as the team leader, Xia Jinyuan had to give him some face sometimes. By letting De Condor out, the other team members could better see Yi Qian's true strength. Taking turns in a group battle was to let the team members see Yi Qian's bravery. Taking turns in a one-on-one fight was to let the team members see Yi Qian's true strength. De Condor moved as fast as lightning. Yi Qian wasn't bad either. The moment De Condor's arm was about to lock Yi Qian's throat, Yi Qian used his right arm to block De Condor's choke hold and used his arm strength to ease the pressure on De Condor's shin. Then, he used his left arm to elbow De Condor's ribs. He was full of strength and didn't hold back at all. De Condor used a killer move right from the start. She didn't need to hold back her strength. What she needed to do was to escape from his grasp. De Condor's move is a sure kill move. None of the new recruits were able to escape from his sure kill move. Qing Niao managed to escape and even counterattack. Did you guys notice that her close-range combat skills are similar to De Condor's? Really? I didn't notice that. If you guys look closely, you'll see that Qing Niao's combat skills were most likely taught by De Condor himself. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so similar. If it was really taught by the captain, the eagle wouldn't be able to gain much of an advantage in the hands of Qing Niao. Also, Qing Niao's movements are quite nimble, and the strength she uses is also quite great. She has the advantage. It'll be a bit difficult for De Condor to beat Qing Niao. Don't forget, Qing Niao just finished a 10-minute round of taking turns in a group battle. She's already exhausted a lot of her energy. Under such circumstances, if it's still difficult for De Ying to defeat Qing Niao, it's actually equivalent to Qing Niao having already defeated De Ying. Looking at the situation in the field, a few Special Forces soldiers discussed in low voices. Seeing the ferocity of the female soldier and the martial arts she used, they secretly gave her a thumbs up in their hearts. As the saying went, seeing once was better than hearing 100 times. No matter how much Pigeon, T6, and the others usually praised Yi Qian, they were not as shocked as seeing him with their own eyes. It's a good show. We'll only know who wins and who loses after we see it. If Qing Niao can really win, then she is much stronger than the recruits. It wouldn't be surprising if she lost. After all, the 10 minutes of wheel battle exhausted her stamina. It's normal for her to lose. Was it normal to lose? Xia Jinyuan listened to the hushed discussion of his comrades, and there was silence in his dark eyes. No, he hoped that Qing Niao could win. He really hoped that Qing Niao could win. Only by winning would the resistance in front of them be reduced. Only then would more people be convinced and accept her. He hoped that Qing Niao could win. She had worked so hard for so long to enter the gates of the Snow Region base and reach where she was today. He was more afraid of her losing than anyone else. But it didn't matter if she really lost. She had already won the attention of many of his comrades. If she really lost, she still had 2.5 years to work hard and re-enter the gates of the Snowfield Brigade. If she really lost, he would accompany her to fight again. Yi Qian, who was in the midst of a fierce battle, did not know of Xia Jinyuan's worries. She had not fought with a strong soldier for a long time. Today's battle was exhilarating even though her body was in pain. The more he fought, the more exhilarated he felt. The more he fought, the more ruthless he became. Chapter 3198. Her fierceness and excitement were clearly seen by her comrades who were watching from the sidelines. She was really amazing. She got more and more excited as she fought. Her desire to win was really strong. As a soldier, one must have the desire to win and strive to be the best soldier. Xia Jinyuan saw her fierceness and relaxed a little. You can do it, Qing Niao. Keep it up. Victory will not be too far away from you. G3, who was watching from the other side, inadvertently saw the faint smile in Xia Jinyuan's eyes. Seeing that he was staring at the green bird fighting in the field, G3's eyes could not help but narrow slightly. There must be a deeper meaning behind the captain's arrangement. He couldn't figure out what the deeper meaning was. If J5 was here, he might be able to guess a thing or two. But now that J5 was gone, there really wasn't anyone in the team who could figure out the captain's intentions, who was a godlike commander. Good! G3 suddenly heard a round of cheers, followed by thunderous applause. They were all cheering for Qing Niao's performance. A second ago, Yi Qian leaped into the air and used his legs to kick De Jiao, who was as big as a mountain, into the snow. Then, he did a backflip and landed steadily. This kick made De Jiao's heart jump a few times. He rubbed his sore chest and quickly got up from the snow to prevent a second attack from the female soldier. He got up very quickly and didn't give Yi Qian a chance to attack again. De Jiao fought with Yi Qian for the first time. He had heard Pigeon and the others say that she was very strong. No matter how strong a woman was, she couldn't be stronger than a man. That was what he thought. In reality, a female soldier who had trained her arm strength and could hold a sniper rifle in her hands for 10 hours without moving and could even shoot steadily at the target, her strength was so strong that even a man would feel inferior. Now, he believed it. Qing Niao was really very strong. When she kicked with both legs, he couldn't even stabilize his body. His lower body was unstable, and he didn't even stagger. He was directly kicked down by her. Without a certain amount of strength, it was impossible to kick him down with a single step. The two of them started fighting again. The eagle tried to grab Yi Qian's shoulder and force her to kneel down and admit defeat, but Yi Qian didn't give him the chance. One of her shoulders was grabbed behind her back. She raised her head abruptly and hit the eagle's chin with the back of her head. She hit the eagle so hard that she nearly bit off her own tongue. His chin had been hit so hard that his entire face felt numb. He couldn't even focus his vision. Yi Qian took this opportunity to break free from her captive arm and launched a series of ferocious attacks. This time, she attacked the giant eagle's chest. How strong was Yi Qian? Xia Jinyuan understood this very well. Therefore, when he saw Yi Qian use all his strength to hit the eagle's ribs with his elbow, Xia Jinyuan lowered his head and covered his thin lips with his fist to hide the smile on his face. "Brother, you're in pain. Brother, I can tell from your expression that you're in so much pain that your internal organs are in a mess." Giant Eagle wasn't in so much pain that his internal organs were in a mess. He was in so much pain that his intestines were in a mess. The female soldier Qing Niao's strength was indeed very strong. He wanted to control his facial expression so that it wouldn't look so hideous and ugly, but he really couldn't control his facial expression. It was too painful. Thus, the Special Forces soldiers who had formed a circle saw the biggest man in their team, Giant Eagle, get hit in the chest by the female soldier. He was in so much pain that his facial features were distorted and his expression was hideous. Tisk, it really hurt for him. Even if it hurt, he had to endure it. Even if it hurt, Giant Eagle knew how to use his ultimate move. Chapter 3199. After so many years of assassination, it had already become a conditioned reflex to use any kind of killing move under any circumstances. Before he could think of anything else, the killing move had already been executed. His strong and muscular arm wrapped around Yi Qian's neck again. He was so strong that the veins on his arm looked like cobwebs, and the veins on his arm were clearly visible. He used all of his strength and was able to strangle Yi Qian's neck to the point of breaking her cervical vertebra. Yi Qian could already feel the male soldier's murderous aura. She knew that her 2 consecutive attacks had ignited the male soldier's murderous aura and he was about to launch a fatal attack on her. But she wasn't afraid. She could do the same thing. The watching Special Forces soldiers knew that the fight had reached its climax, so they were waiting to see how Yi Qian would deal with this move. Yi Qian grabbed the male soldier's hand with one hand and used all her strength to stop the male soldier's arm from wrapping around her neck. She then used her elbow to hit the male soldier's chest hard again. Her position did not change. It was still the same spot she had hit so hard. Before the first wave of pain passed, another wave of pain followed. Feeling pain in the same spot twice, the pain made Eagle unable to control his facial expression. It was so painful that his facial features were all distorted. Eagle's grip on Yi Qian's neck loosened a little from the pain. The female soldier who had been wrapped around by him earlier took the opportunity to crouch down slightly. At the same time, she suddenly grabbed his arm with both hands and let out a low shout. She wanted to throw Eagle to the ground. The female soldier, who was not even half the size of Eagle, actually wanted to trip him and throw him over her shoulder. Could she do it? The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became very excited. All of the Special Forces soldiers had the same reaction. They stared intently at Yi Qian, who was struggling in the field, looking forward to seeing what other moves she would use to deal with the situation. For some reason, watching the female soldier Qing Niao fight with the male soldiers was inexplicably more exciting than watching the male soldiers fight each other. Qing Niao, go for it. Beat Eagle to the ground. Beat him to the ground, don't hold back. Don't give the captain any face. Use as much strength as you can. As long as he doesn't fall to his death, Everything is negotiable. The ones who said this were naturally the T6 combatant. Pigeon, Sparrowhawk, and the others had also joined the camp. Amidst the jeering of his comrades, the eagle, who knew Yi Qian's intention, had already reacted. It lifted its sturdy leg and fiercely hooked Yi Qian's calf, using the twisting force of its leg to try to throw Yi Qian back. The pigeon came over to convey the captain's order. He knew that he would definitely be the villain who bullied the female soldiers today. He didn't even have the chance to refuse. However, since she wanted to become a member of the Snowfield Brigade's Special Forces, she had to endure some hardship. He couldn't show mercy to her just because she was a female soldier. There were only soldiers in the team, and there was no gender. Yi Qian was never afraid of close combat. At this time, although the eagle was still behind him, his focus had already shifted. Yi Qian, who was still in his original position, hugged the eagle's left shoulder tightly. When the eagle, who still wanted to use the strength of its leg to flip Yi Qian over, saw that Yi Qian had suddenly hugged his left shoulder tightly, he muttered in his heart, "Oh no!" He quickly pulled back his leg and immediately stabilized his center of gravity. The eagle was from Mongolia and loved to wrestle since he was young. He had an advantage over the other soldiers, so it was very difficult to throw him like this. After Yi Qian failed twice, he understood that this Special Forces soldier, who was like a small mountain in front of him, was not so easy to deal with. Yi Qian did not panic when the eagle escaped again. He quickly raised his right leg and kicked the eagle's calf fiercely. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.